Is it live? Hello there, everybody, and welcome to the Entertainment Headquarters, and welcome to a very special edition of Kaiju Connections. And it's all about celebrating the reason that we're all huge Kaiju fans. And that is, of course, Godzilla, the King of the Monsters, is celebrating his 70th anniversary. That's right. Godzilla
to the King of the Monsters.
Absolutely. Happy birthday, the King of the Monsters. Now, to celebrate this amazing milestone, as you can see, I have a host of amazing guests, and we're here basically to just talk about Godzilla, why we're fascinated with this genre, what drew it to the King of the Monsters himself, and why we have become lifelong fans. And because of it, we have all connected and become lifelong friends. So I'll go in order. Joining me today is my partner in crime for a lot of the things I do here on the channel, Mr. DJ Anubis.
Thank you.
And next to DJ Anubis, joining us on this special edition of Kaiju Connections is Mr. Big Bad Wolf. And the next one down, he is a super Kaiju fan, not just of Godzilla, but of Ultraman, Gamera, the whole shebang, Mr. J. Cole. And, of course, we do have right in the middle, Mr. Sexual Chocolate, Mr. Kaiju Fanatic, Mr. Walter Ross.
Xbox.
Right.
Mr. Jedi Granville. And, of course, from Anthony Jordan's Movie and Gaming, Mr. Anthony Jordan. And the good old one who got this bad bunch of misfits together. The man who created the Sci-Fi Society, Mr. Sci-Fi Sentry.
No, baby. Pleasure to be here.
And
He's
finally,
our Sifu.
yeah, and finally, Mr. Daniel Miller, the Professor.
Hello.
Yes. So, the one thing that's amazed me is that, of course, we are here to talk about Godzilla and the fact that he has made it to his 70th anniversary. And not only has he made it to his 70th anniversary, he is probably at the most important time of his illustrious career. And of course, his, whole, franchise, it's a pop culture phenomenon. And of course, it's probably at the best height of its popularity that it's ever been since the 1950s, and I would say up to the late 1980s and maybe mid 1990s. So we'll start with DJ Nu. With how do you feel like Godzilla's turned 70 and where we're at now?
Well, I mean, I'm extremely happy. I mean, look, we've all talked about our origin stories with the creatures and the kaiju and Godzilla. And, as early as age 5, I had seen Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 74. And so, like, from that point, I'd always been a Godzilla kaiju fan, giant monsters. And I don't know, with Godzilla himself, it's like he went over the years. There was like this period in the 90s where I kind of was just lost as a human being, so I didn't really keep up until like the 2000s when I was able to go back and say, oh my god, they've got all these other Godzilla movies I never saw. So I was able to catch up, and of course, obviously with 2014, it ignited this whole new breed and slew of movies that we've got with Legendary, and of course Toho is getting back in the game. And I think personally, Godzilla's in the best place it could be right now, and it ever has been. Like, everything that we see is a very positive move in the right direction. So I just think we're in good hands.
Mm-hmm. Big Bad Wolf, how do you feel about Godzilla turning 70?
Well, it's kind of almost similar to Anubis's. I was 4 or 5. I was at this daycare my parents would drop me off at in Vermont. At the daycare person's house, and of course, I happened to discover a VHS tape that was like, it was one of those ones for like a DVD. There was a front and a back to it. The front, it was like you put it in on this part, it would be this movie. You flip it over, it'd be the other movie. And that one, it was Godzilla versus Gigan and Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. And so I remember you could say, I mean, the funny thing is, I just literally found it and I didn't know it, so I just took it home with me. And that film was just with me ever since then, though not now. But that's just what ignited it, was watching Godzilla versus Gigan. I was introduced to Godzilla. I was introduced to Anguirus, Gigan, Ghidorah, and then I was introduced to King Caesar and OG Mechagodzilla. And that's just how it started. And eventually, as I grew up, well, my parents were able to buy the other films too. So there was the Heisei ones that you could buy from the stores. There was Destroy All Monsters. There was Godzilla 2000, GMK, and versus Mechagodzilla. And also, fun fact, Final Wars was the first pay-per-view I watched at the age of 7.
That's amazing.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because my
kaiju version of a Royal Rumble.
Yeah, my grandmother that day, she was trying to find me a pay-per-view movie to watch because she was in the mood for her grandpa to find. She goes, let's find Jonathan one to watch. She goes, who are these kids' films on pay-per-view? And I saw Godzilla Final Wars. I went, that one. And so I watched that one over the weekend. Loved it because I remember seeing Anguirus and the rest of the show era. So I was excited to see them again. And then I hate to piggyback off what people say, but like Anubis said, the genre is in the best place it could be right now with what's going on. I mean, if you would have walked up to 5-year-old me years ago and said, this thing is literally going to be at its height in 20 years, I would have been like, piss off. Because getting bullied my entire life saying if you keep liking Godzilla, you won't find a wife, you won't find group of people that will like you and stuff like that. And so I was literally just alone. I was literally just a lone wolf in that matter.
Mr. J. Cole, I know you must be very happy that he's turned 70.
Yes, I very am. Like Big Bad Wolf, Godzilla vs. Gigan was the very first Godzilla film I ever watched, and that's how I got introduced to Godzilla. And throughout the years, of course, not in chronological order, but over the years, I started collecting all the VHS tapes. I didn't watch Godzilla King of the Monsters until like 2 years later after I watched Godzilla vs. Gigan. So, and then once I started getting into the Heisei era, of course, that also was out of chronological order. I enjoyed the Showa era for what it was. I mean, it's got a lot of goofiness, but to see how far it has come with each of the eras, I mean, it's no wonder why he's lasted this long. He's
and he's still in the Guinness Book of World Records of being the longest continuous franchise in film history.
Yep.
I remember seeing that in middle school or high school, and I saw that. I mean, I was flabbergasted. I went, Godzilla is literally a Guinness World Record holder.
Yes.
I mean, he's done it all, and finally, after 70 years, winning an Oscar for Best Visual Effects for -1, just like you can almost go to the moon.
Yes.
Well, you can't breathe in space, but you know what I mean.
Well, Godzilla can.
True.
Yep.
So, Jedi Granville, you are a huge Godzilla kaiju enthusiast, like we're all here. So, how do you feel?
Well, I just never imagined that I would be here sitting with so many enthusiasts for the love of Godzilla, and the fact that at 70 years old, I was like, I never imagined this when I was in my teens. It's like I would live to see this event come to fruition, and it's like here we are. We're talking about them, and unlike the other three, I didn't come into knowing Godzilla firsthand through film. It was actually through printed, medium, which was Famous Monsters of Filmland, number 114, 100-page, array of what Godzilla and all the monsters that was coming out of Japan were. This was introduced to me by my second older brother, and for some reason, and see, I just had an imaginative, cognitive thought process when I was that young anyway, and I was about like 4 or 5 years old. And when I got introduced to this, I was just like, what is this? And me being a child, seeing this stuff, I was just like, oh God, these are films, these are and just looking at it was just getting me so hyped up, I'm just like so excited. But I would not see my first Godzilla film until 2 years later. And it was in this room right here that I would see that NBC broadcast of Godzilla versus Megalon with my brother. And let me just say, like, seeing Star Wars, seeing the Superman movie, seeing this film changed my life forever, changed my perspective forever. Because it let me know, it's like, okay, this is something that, I'm into, but how long will the love of it or just the franchise itself last? Well, as we see, nearly 50 years later from when I saw that, here we are, 2024, and he's still going strong. I mean, as you say, he's done every kind of iteration. He's been in animation, the Hanna-Barbera cartoons. He's been in anime, he's done it all, and he's played the good guy, he's played the bad guy, he's just the anti-hero. He's a symbol of whatever, hope or whatever.
He's the Rock of Kaiju.
He is, and the fact that he is created this symbol of just joy to all the ones who have seen him around the world, you know. And it's the reason why we have G Fest and other kind of conventions to celebrate him and other creations that were followed by. You know, it amazes me because for me, you know, living as an introvert, growing up with no sense of a father or just, you know, being bullied, you know, it was a good outlet for me to have something like that, like him, to let me know it's like, hey, the world ain't as shitty as you think it is, but at least you know that this keeps you in a joyful mood. And I can say right now, even at my age, I'm still feeling the love after all this time.
Yes. Anthony Jordan.
Well, I believe like my introduction, I was forget how old. It was one of my first haircuts, and my mom was like, if you're good, because I had already seen the original King Kong. She goes, if you're good, I'll get you King Kong versus Godzilla. I'm like, what's Godzilla? A giant fire-breathing dinosaur? Okay, I'll be good for a haircut. Got the haircut. We got the movie and its history. I became a big fan. I even had a lot of us had the Imperial Godzilla. And like as a kid, I would watch some of the movies. I would take all the VHS tapes or books I could get my hands on and set up a Tokyo with them. And just when I would watch that or the original or 1984, I would destroy that Tokyo along with the movie. And stuck with me. I kind of lost touch like early 2000s through the millennium. And it wasn't till 2013 into 14 when I found out about the legendary movie that I really started getting back into it, collecting the movies, the figures. The rest is history. Godzilla led me to meeting this awesome group of people right here. So, yeah, Godzilla's been a very influential force in my life, even if it's something I've been made fun of for.
I will say, jokingly, how unfortunate that was King Kong versus Godzilla. That was your introduction.
I still like that movie.
I still like that movie, John. You got a problem with that?
Yes, I do.
You just stirred up something there, John.
Maybe that was my plan the whole time.
Well,
we gotta stir the pot.
Oh, and also, before I forget too, like first video game I've ever beat.
I got that game too. I am proud to say I got that game too.
Is that the
so do I.
Is that the NCS game or whatever the heck that console is called?
NES.
NES.
NES. Yes.
Thank you, Professor. That's why we have you here.
Yes.
Right.
So, Sci-Fi Sentry.
Godzilla has stood the test of time. 70 years. Going strong till 2024. The start of the MonsterVerse. Expanding its fan base, his legacy. The movies keep coming out. Everybody wants a piece of kaiju. Everybody wants a piece of kaiju like entertainment now. Everybody wants to throw their pot in it. And I mean, you guys have already heard how many times I've, my first Godzilla movie, how I was introduced to Godzilla. I shared my influence and inspiration video, and that video pretty much says it all. But I mean, it's Godzilla, like all of us, holds a special place in our hearts and got me through a lot, especially through being young, getting through the bullshit with bullies, school, other problems. But yeah, Godzilla has stood the test of time, and I still have, to this day, I still have the very first Godzilla I ever got back in the 80s.
Oh, the Imperial figure.
It's the Imperial version.
Wow.
The Imperial version right here, and then I got this one still. The only one that's survived is my Godzilla Raids Again American VHS release.
Oh, banana oil.
And yeah, it's just like all you guys have said. All you guys have already said, really good points on Oh wow, that's
That's
a
the one
big
I
That's a
had.
big one.
Yeah, like it's just it's like everybody has mentioned Godzilla's legacy is it's gonna go into 80 years, it's gonna go into 90 years. When our bones are dust, man, Godzilla's still gonna keep going, bro. It doesn't matter. Like he's gonna hit 100, and and I'm just
Yeah.
really glad to be a part of this group, meeting all of you guys, Kevin, Anubis, Big Bad Wolf, Jake Hall, Walter Ross, uh, Anthony Jordan, the Professor Daniel, like all of us, six of us are already G Fest veterans. Which something I thought I would never do is go to G Fest. So, like everything that's happened since the past few years that I met you guys, man, it's just been all positive. Godzilla, everything we're into, and I'm so proud and so grateful to be a part of this group, this amazing group of individuals, man. And like still, man, this is gonna be something we're gonna be showing off all this freaking stream, bro. All the good stuff on what we have, man.
You're damn
What
right.
I mean, too bad Anubis doesn't have has the stuff that we got, But I mean, we can show it off to the. We can send a few pictures of us holding them for Christmas.
Yeah.
Here's the
So
picture I'm gonna
so
send to
we love that.
Anubis. This is
Oh,
the
there you
picture
go.
I'm
Yeah.
sending to him.
Yeah.
He says, "Fuck you, fuckers."
Oh,
Yeah,
look,
but
even the professor's rubbing shit in.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, man, look at. No, but that's
Let
the
me,
whole.
let me
That's
show you my
the-
asshole. You ready for that?
No,
There we go,
no,
see?
we don't want to see a pink starfish. We're not ready to see past the star.
Hold on. Hey, Godzilla fans,
Oh,
1987.
see.
Never thought Godzilla would be where he is now. The special effects in legendary films, CGI Ghidorah and the big screen. Yes. That's why King of the Monsters is like one of my favorite fucking films because the CGI brought those characters to life. We've talked about it a lot with this group here. It's a beautiful thing.
Never thought
Beautiful
we'd see Ghidorah, Rodan, or Martha in Americanized cinema.
Yeah.
Right.
But like,
What up, Alice?
Hello.
Yeah. I've always said when I come to King of the Monsters, it's a film for the fans, made by a fan.
yes.
And you can see he put all his heart and soul on making this like a true interpretation of like a Showa era type movie.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Daniel Miller, how do you feel about Godzilla turning 70?
Godzilla turning 70 years old. It is one of the best times, if I'm being honest. Because when I first found out about Godzilla and I've been online and I've looked at the date it was released, I've always marked every calendar and diary I've got for November 3rd of each year since 2007. And I'm like, that's the movie. That's the day I'm going to celebrate this movie's anniversary by watching it back to back. But yeah, and yeah, 70 years. Good God, it's incredible and it's daunting in all of the best possible ways. And it's only just recently that he's earned his first Academy Award, and I'm wondering why the hell didn't he win one sooner? Come on.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. Even like when I think of Godzilla, him turning 70, this is my personal opinion. I also remember that day when I first was introduced to Godzilla way back as a child on that stormy night. And it was Jonathan Ross at the movies. It was the Creature Features on Channel 4. And I always remember hearing that roar for the first time. And it stuck with me. And it's continued to stick with me for my entire life. And to think here I am as an adult and never thinking it would make such a big impact on my life. And it has. For the fact that I've met you amazing people, the fact that the franchise has continued to mesmerize me, it's continued to shake things up and bring new things to it. And it's, people talk about the MCU. Well, guess what? Before there was the MCU, there was the Showa era, which was for me the very first ever, franchise, like kind of, multimedia that featured, monsters all together and creating a franchise, creating a universe.
And they
And
were
it's
literally
all
the first
That's
Avengers.
not unpopular here.
Did they mean 1998?
Yeah.
I think so.
It confused the hell out of me. I'm like 1898. What the hell?
I mean,
It's a typo.
it's a typo.
I still understood it.
Yeah.
It's a bad Godzilla movie, but there are worse movies out there.
Godzilla's Revenge.
yes.
And
So
to be fair, the '98 version, even though I'm not a big fan, I've said this many times. If it wasn't for that, you wouldn't have these future generations like in Godzilla to begin with. So I have to get kudos with that.
yes.
Well, that's because America had to
thanks to-
cleanse the plate after they screwed up.
Yeah.
Well,
And
also they did their best to try to have their own spin on the character.
Oh no, I give Emmerich and them a lot of credit for thinking outside the box, but at the end of the day, when you look at Zilla, you just don't see Godzilla. Like you can see they're attempting a version of it, but like I don't know. For me, part of the problem was by the end of it, you basically have Jurassic Park because you had all little.
Yeah, that's part. I
around.
think that's how the film got itself in trouble, was because I forget who it was, but it was like Emmerich and them pretty much getting called out for copying Jurassic Park because of that one sequence.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say, Kevin, if I may, if I can react to Alice's
yes.
comment on the Godzilla's Revenge. Like we all know it's a bad film, but I like myself, and I talked to Kevin and I talked to Walter about it too. That in many ways, man, I was Ichiro when I was his age. I was like I related to him a lot because that's what I did when I was young. Even though I was still fighting off bullies, I still wanted to escape, and I still wanted to, like just go home, do my homework, and then just lose myself in the fantasy of Godzilla. So in a way, I was kind of like a Chiro, and I would beat the shit out of the freaking bully, usually at the end of the day. So that's why I can say that I relate to that. But I wanted to respond to Alice's comment. But yeah, guys, it's to me, I'll still watch it. It's a bad film, but like even Anthony Gordon has said, there's a lot worse kaiju films than those.
And like, even it has its place because it was a social commentary on the state of the then modern Japanese family.
Yeah.
And I was definitely part of that because I'm sorry, Kev. I was just going to say I was a part of that because I live in an industrial area myself, just like a hero, and I had to deal with that element. But at the same time, since I had such an imaginative, kind of mindset, it helps you to get past all that. So, and like I say, a lot of the things that Ashiro went through, I kind of went through too, just like Daniel. Sci-Fi. It's just that way.
Mm-hmm. Well, as for me, when it comes to Godzilla's Revenge, I look at it like this. If you look at the Gamera series, they had so many movies, and then they basically did like what you could class as like one of the first ever cash grab films, where they did another film to end the series with clips of all the previous Gamera films, and they kind of just made it like a new movie with the same footage to cash in on what was going on with Gamera. And when it comes to the Showa era with Godzilla, I feel as if that's what they did with Godzilla's Revenge. It was basically
it definitely does seem like it.
Mm-hmm.
It's
it's very similar to that. But
I'd say Godzilla's Revenge is better due to the fact that it actually explores a theme unlike Godzilla 98.
I feel 98 was more of a cash grab than anything. That Godzilla.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, they were bouncing off of Independence Day, so yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
Whoops. Did I take it
Well,
off for you?
Yeah, I was just about to add it. Let's have a look.
There you go.
In addition to the films, I have really enjoyed the large number of Godzilla comics published in recent years. Rulers of the Earth from IDW is my favourite G comic, which it was an animated series. I actually would agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with Lacey on that one. That's one thing because there's a very bad because much like Marvel and DC comics in which the characters have their badass moments, there's a few moments that are extremely badass. Like there was one to a King Caesar rescues all the Earth monsters from the trilopods, and then they burst out of this den, and someone commented, "Avengers Assemble." Because it
How the
was
hell
kind
is
of like
Caesar
that.
doing that? He's sleeping all the
That's
time.
And then there's another one to where Godzilla and Space Godzilla, they look like they're about to kill each other, but then they both blast their atomic beams into the trilopods. But Space Godzilla's going this way, Godzilla's going that way. And it was just a very cool shot.
Yeah. And speaking of comics, Marvel.
Oh
sent-
yeah, the '90s. Those are from the '90s, man. Those are really good too.
Yes,
Yeah.
Marvel spin on the character.
Yeah.
Mine's
I
back
absolutely
there.
love that Godzilla went head to head with the Avengers in this
Yes.
comic.
He
Yeah,
gave
I
them a
saw
run for
that.
their money too, because even
Well-
Thor had a hard time with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
of course,
well,
J. Jonah Jameson met an unfortunate fate, we have to say.
yes. Yes. Well, before we talk about obviously anything else, I'll just quickly go over some stuff because talking about the comics and that is also something I wanted to talk about because I really wanted to basically talk about how Godzilla has crossed so many areas of, multimedia. And what the main problem people will have lied with Godzilla's Revenge in the stock footage. Very true. So I'll just quickly read this. Godzilla is a Japanese monster or kaiju that has been featured in films, television series, novels, comic books, video games, and other merchandise. The film series are centered on the fictional kaiju Godzilla, a prehistoric reptilian monster awakened and powered by nuclear radiation. The film series are recognized by the Guinness World Records as the longest continuously running film series, having been in ongoing production since 1954, with several hiatuses of varying lengths. They are 38 Godzilla films, 33 Japanese film produced and distributed by Toho Co. Ltd, and 5 American films, 1 by TriStar Pictures, and 4 films part of the Monsterverse franchise by Legendary Pictures. So, the popularity of the films have led to the film series expanding to other media, such as television, music, literature, and video games. Godzilla has become one of the most recognizable symbols in Japanese pop culture worldwide, and a well-known facet of Japanese cinema. It is also considered one of the first examples of the popular kaiju and tokusatsu subgenres in Japanese entertainment. So, since I've mentioned that, 70 years of Godzilla, me and Daniel Miller, the professor, are from the United Kingdom. We are from England, and where Godzilla had a greater reach in the US and other parts of the world, we very much were left behind.
Yeah.
And it's only been because of the legendary Monsterverse that since 2014 we have been able to get our hands on a lot of the figures and statues and comic books. And we got the Criterion collection released with all the Showa eras films. So in your guys' opinion, how do you feel about him going just from being a film franchise to now a multimedia conglomerate now for Toho. We'll start with DJ Anubis.
What was the question? Sorry.
So, how do you feel about Godzilla now? He's expanded beyond just films, and he's now crossed the globe and become like a multimedia
Cultural
phenomenon.
icon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fun. You know, but you know, this has been happening for a while. It was on a bit of a smaller scale. So like I posted a video the other day because obviously for those that know me, I'm a big rock metal guy, and there's a rock band called Loudness out of Japan, and back in the 80s when they did their video for Let It Go, the original video, by the end of it, there's a scene where the guys end up falling on the grass, and next thing you know, you see this shadow, and then you hear Godzilla's roar, and they go, Godzilla! And then they do the typical Japanese runaway thing, right? So that kind of stuff has just been going on forever, but now it's like on such a huge scale that Godzilla kind of appears just about everywhere. And I think even when I go back and watch a video like from 20 or so years ago when Godzilla hit his 50th, Hollywood put him up on the Hollywood Hall of Fame. So, I mean, just think about that for a minute. This is a fictional character that made the Hall of Fame in Hollywood. That's when you know you've made it big time. When you can,
especially if you got your star on Hollywood Boulevard too. That's another thing.
Right.
Yeah. He's like this. I don't know. Well, he's not the first fictional character to have his star, but he beat Batman. I know that much.
Yeah.
I think he got his star there. I think he got his star there before King Kong did.
I was gonna say, I think he got it before King Kong. That's
I think so too.
That's true, he did.
Yes.
He literally said,
that's why Monkey's so pissed off at him all the
time. he literally said, "Fuck off, Monkey."
That's right.
Yes. So, what's your opinion, Big
Which
Bad Wolf,
that?
Well, this was the King Doji, 1962.
Oh, nice.
Continue, Kevin.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So, what's your opinion of like the fact that Godzilla's now went beyond just the films?
Well, I think
went in.
I think it's amazing because when I was growing up, I never knew Godzilla with video games until. So to go a little deep, at one point I was taken from my father by the state government of Connecticut and put to a group home. And at one point, they had all the kids just lined up looking at magazines. And I saw in this one magazine, it was a Godzilla video game. And I'm pretty sure it was Godzilla Saves the Earth, which, by the way, best one of the entire Pipeworks Atari trilogy.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm like, wait, this is a video game? And so one of my biggest things I try to do is get a game console just so I can get a Godzilla game. So when I was 7, I got a Nintendo GameCube. But it wasn't until I was in 3rd grade I got Godzilla Destroyer Monsters Melee. And so I finally got me a Godzilla video game. And then eventually the grandparents got a Nintendo Wii. Around that time the Wii came out, Godzilla Unleashed came out, which introduced us to Crystallock and Obsidius. And with that, we got monsters we didn't think would make it to video games as playable characters, because we got Furon, we got Titanosaurus, we even got Biollante, which I thought was crazy. And what's even more crazy is Gamma, King Kong, and a couple of others were supposed to be added in there, but because of copyright issues, they couldn't do that. But it's just very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just very galore that Godzilla's made it to where instead of just films, there's animated series, because I think there was an animated series on Boomerang from Cartoon Network, that Hanna-Barbera show. Then there was the one based off of the 1998 film, which was really good as well. I will give it that. It was really good. I enjoyed what they tried to do with that one.
Yeah, I think the show was better than the initial film.
And then eventually, I was in, I think 7th or 8th grade, I found out they were actually comic books. And I'm like, how am I now just finding out about this? I thought guys, it was just video games and movies. I had no idea there were comics about him. Then eventually I found out there were mangas as well. Because there's a first one called King Godzilla in the comic, in the manga. And it involves... So you guys know how Mothra in King of the Monsters, when his nuclear pulse attack went off, you see her wings.
Yeah.
So there was a variant in the manga known as King Godzilla, and he kind of has Mothra's wings on him, something kind of like Mothra's wings on him, and he's kind of got that same aura. And so it's just, to me, it's exciting. It just shows Godzilla's versatile. Like, no matter what, Godzilla's not going anywhere. He can literally... I mean, there is that new game that came out, but a lot of people have been complaining about that new Kong Survivor game.
Mm-hmm.
Because my biggest thing I was hoping for was that enough people buy it, because the developers said if this game succeeds, they are considering doing a game that everyone was hoping they would do.
Mm-hmm.
And just to hear a new film's been announced, and we still have a Monsterverse film and show along the way, it's just nuts to think about.
Mm-hmm. Jake Hall.
Well, whether it's comics, video games, or the magazines,
I actually have that magazine too.
so do I. Godzilla, no matter whether it's a figure, comic book, storybook, or whatever media, is, what's the word I'm looking for? Stood the test of time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, regardless, he's going to continue putting out comics, certain video games.
Like, Jake, I will say, I don't know how you've got any more room in your house.
Nope.
He's like Tony.
Like
Well, if it
everyone
makes you-
says I've got some great shit, like collectibles, but the shit you have outdoes me.
Well, you're only seeing part of it because my other figures are on the other side of my of the other side of the screen. So pretty much all over here is my movies and comics,
Mhm.
and some of my movie posters as well.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
Up there are all
Can't go
the
wrong with
figures
beauty.
and posters.
Well, hopefully next year when things get sorted, everything I have is going to be on display. So, but the best thing I've got on display is obviously what's behind us.
Yep.
So that's something I'm very proud that I own. Walter, your opinion on Godzilla stretching beyond the films?
You saw a couple of what I had. I mean, it flabbergasted me because I mentioned, I saw the first film, in '77, but then when they brought out the Hanna-Barbera show, I was just like, whoa, okay, now this is what I like to see, and the fact that they were able to make something, take permission to make something like that and run with it in American states here, I was just like, wow. And then the fact that you see through the ages, as Lone Wolf is, Backback Wolf is mentioned, he's gone video games with that, magazines. And I personally got a couple of books, that deal with Godzilla, talks about him, but I'm not going to try to get them because it's behind this. Because look, even he's in quilt form, this is a quilt, this is a blanket, the fact that he's like this, that says a lot. But also, we have a couple of Dark Horse comics that I have.
I've got those as well.
Okay, and this is that. I mean, to show that he's gone beyond just film and
there it is,
television. See, I mean, it's
signed
amazing.
by Matt Frank.
Okay. See,
signed by Matt Frank himself.
The man, he's a master. But no, I mean, just to say that he's pretty much broken through the shell of just film shows right there his popularity, just like any other, amazing character, and he's no different. He's just standing the test of time, and he'll keep on doing that till forever, maybe. You know.
Yeah,
Are you talking so racy? Are you talking about Singular Point? Because you had Singular Point and then you had the trilogy. When it's come to Singular Point, I thought it focused too much on the science and less on the kaiju action. I think it needs to be a good balance for it to work, and unfortunately, they focused more on one element than the other when it came to Singular. As for the animated trilogy, it was ambitious, but I just think it just didn't hit the mark. Where you've got shows like Gamera Rebirth, which is completely about, it has a plot with that, you know, is a
and it's
homage
made
to
by the
the
same guy who did the Polygon trilogy, Gamera Rebirth. It's pretty much what he was hoping to do with the Polygon trilogy, but Toho wouldn't let him.
Oh,
the thing with the
also, I
Gamera
meant to show you
Rebirth.
this. This is a book bag of Godzilla here. Let me tell you that, but I'm just so excited to be doing this. So, hey.
Well, was that when I was young?
I know exactly right. Where was
Each
that?
one of us, it's like each one of us has something that none of the other person has.
Yep.
So it's like you know. I mean, yeah. Just, I mean, not like Jake. I mean, just like Kevin was saying about Jake.
Like got us beat all around.
Jake has like all of us have the badass shit, but like Jake, like can fit all of the stuff he has in one house when we can only have when we only put stuff in certain room in a partner room. So like freaking. Like it's just crazy, man.
Whenever Jake wants to upload some of that to me, he can feel free to do it.
Same here, Jake. We'll give you. We'll give you.
You can't see me. Can't
We'll give
see
you our
me.
addresses.
Can't do it.
Hold on. I gotta show Anubis something. If everybody's showing up their dick size, then I gotta do it too.
I forgot.
I remember getting this at G Fest.
Who remembers this? I think you know. I think you've seen this, Anubis, haven't you?
I had to get the special guest, guys. Here's the special guest.
You know, I think I need to like just remove all you bitches from this feed and just be mean. Should just be mean.
Hey, Anubis, there you go.
Yeah,
There you go.
hey, yeah. You got that big ass chicken. I see it.
There you go.
What is that, condor? Is that condor?
That's not
that condor?
That's not a chicken. That's a fucking vulture.
Hey, Anubis, I made it to Hollywood. Where's poor Anguirus?
He's all skin and bones down at the bottom to see.
Yeah, that's because he couldn't make it to Hollywood.
Wait, guys, just a question. Who would win? The Tokyo SOS or the Evolved EMK?
Yeah, Evolved.
Well, he would just explode, right?
Maybe.
And I should show you this. This is by a good friend of mine who did this. This, I look. This I paid good money for this, and it's worth every penny.
Was that at G Fest?
Yes, I got this at G Fest. You know, the name of the person is.
Why didn't Hanna-Barbera use Godzilla's original war for the animated series and No Blue Atomic Breath? Are you talking about the one with Godzuki?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say that was for.
I'm gonna say maybe right issues.
Yeah, because what was that, like 80s?
Yeah,
that was like
late
70s and
70s.
80s. 70s,
so
80s.
Yeah, because this Godzilla had laser eyes.
Yeah,
And a fire breath. Like it wasn't atomic breath, but it was.
It was actual fire. Yeah, I remember that.
So I have something here that I want to share that someone on this panel actually got me, and it's one of my prized possessions. And I have kept it in this drawer in front of me since I came back from G-Fest because I want to frame it. But I love it that much that I keep it nice and safe till I decorate my room. And it is.
Yeah.
Burning.
Oh, nice. Yes. That's by Bob Ellerton.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's signed.
Yes.
He had a lot of cool stuff.
Oh, he does. He really does.
Oh yeah.
And of course.
Oh, the burning Godzilla. Yes. See.
Yes.
See, we're just popping off stuff that we got, and it's like, dude, that's what I'm talking about, man. I mean, I'm sorry for you, Anubis, but sucks for you, but I mean, we're
No, come on.
Fuck you, man.
Oh, you have any burning fingers?
Hey,
Get them
hey,
now.
Walter, it's okay. Yours can't piss.
I'm sorry. I mean, I'm just getting into it. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Walter, what you have.
I'm sorry. Why am I here again? I don't remember now.
I do.
Walter, yours can't piss him off more than this.
Okay.
I'm just gonna start removing you guys. See you later.
You say from the phrase.
I
Autograph.
like how Kevin shows his burning Godzilla art. Then we all just get burning Godzilla figures and just try and flex who's got the best burning stuff they've got.
It's gonna burn your house down. Is what it's gonna do.
That's what.
Yeah.
At this point, we gotta start measuring dicks.
There you go. We can't measure dicks. I mean, that's not allowed.
No, I don't
we're
think
not looking to get
Godzilla's into measuring dicks. When he's got the biggest dick of them all.
Oh, and I should show this. I mean, maybe this is not too kaiju related, but it is. Autograph photo of Miss Linda Miller with, the 67 King Kong, which
I like that
here with me. Yes.
Oh, that's a cool one right there, Captain. That's really cool.
Oh,
that
nice.
That was Gorsaurus's big debut.
Mm-hmm.
The legendary kangaroo kicking T-Rex.
Yes. So let's continue with the discussion.
Yeah.
So I was going to say to Walter Ross, what's your opinion of the Godzilla franchise going beyond just the films?
Well, you already asked me that. I mean, I told you. I mean, it's just.
Oh, sorry. It must be.
Honestly, I'm surprised it's gone beyond just the film, but gone into video games. But I feel that was going to be eventually going to happen. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, because Pac-Man, others, Asteroids was just like stepping stone to something greater. And well, let's face it, Godzilla was no exception. He was going to be in that arena, but no, dude. I mean, like I said, I just show you. I mean, comic books, video games, animation. It's like, I mean, look. This is what you call a treasure trove of just goodness. Like your name is called Kaiju Goodness. That's exactly what this stuff is. He's just a Kaiju goodness of just eat it up kind of stuff. And that's how I feel about it.
Mm-hmm. And what's your opinion, Anthony Jordan?
I think it's great. We're not just getting, like, for instance, the comic book, the toys. Like, who would have thought we would have gotten the novel treatments of the original stories written for the first two movies?
Yeah.
Like, we knew the story behind the author they hired to write the original treatment, but whoever thought they would get a chance to read what that story was?
Mm-hmm.
And
actually, I do have some things for Godzilla to share. I do.
Oh, okay, cool.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. There you go.
And how about this with the main man over there?
Right.
And this is the best one right here. This is truly the best one.
Yeah.
Hey,
wait, wasn't that
baby.
Wasn't that Daniel's bed?
Yes, it was.
Yep, I turned
It
him out.
was right before the bliss started. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I turned Anubis out real good.
Real good.
Anubis,
can you dig it?
DJ Anubis truly became the Egyptian god of dead after that.
No, but actually, just to add to Anubis before you get that, continue, Kevin. That was Anubis's idea. Okay, that was his idea. It wasn't my idea.
Anubis wanted it to happen.
No. Sentry said I wanted to lick the dog dick of Anubis. That's what he said.
Hey, he just wanted some brown sugar, and he just got it. That's all.
Oh man! Oh.
He won that sit up. He won that.
Hey, listen here, Sir Mix-a-Lot. We ain't getting into your story, okay?
I mean, we could. Trust me. That would be that's a story for another time. But trust me,
yeah, we still got it on video. We can just play that at the end of the stream. That could be the outro.
Okay, we'll get back to it. Go. Oh, who's next?
Anthony's next.
I believe it's you.
He's still on. We're still on.
I was saying too, not only like saying getting the books, but just the access to the music. Like, we've all grown up loving the music from the movies, but you couldn't just get the soundtracks everywhere. I have the King of the Monsters soundtrack on CD, and they're even putting out awesome vinyls like this from Mondo for Godzilla 1984. So even just being able to get access to the music as terms of his multimedia reach now,
Yeah, Godzilla 1984.
it's never been a better time because, like I said, you can get access to just so many forms, even right down to I love the soundtrack to this movie, and you can actually easily obtain the soundtrack now.
84 is the best Heisei design, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I want to add on to what Anthony was saying about the soundtracks, because being in Britain, we've had to import a lot of anything Godzilla related.
I think I've spent more money importing stuff than what I've paid for the damn items.
Yeah. I mean, but also the soundtracks, they're no exception. I mean, both of these, the best of volumes 1 and 2, they had to import via Amazon. This was the only one that I got in a store in Britain. Oh, the original.
Yeah, but here's something I really want to show real quick before we go on. This is the original. These are the sound effects of the creatures and sound effects in the Toho universe. And this baby right here, this is a gem right here. I got this on for sale, although it costs like $40, but I feel it's worth it.
I didn't even know they had that. I didn't even know they had a freaking CD
This is when I started. This is when I started shopping on Amazon, and I just happened to catch this, and then when I say, "Well, let me buy this and just see what it is," and it's got from the first Godzilla sound effect, his roar, to the last Millennium film. So, yeah, dude, it's killer.
Oh, shit.
Awesome.
Does it have the vehicle sound effects as well?
Yes, it does. Actually, it does have that. It was crazy, dude. Well, I say
So, what did you mention? How you felt about Godzilla crossing the multimedia sci-fi?
Well, I just actually, you guys are showing a bunch of badass freaking like collectibles and physical media and stuff like that. But I wanted to mention something that that'll resonate with me, Jedi Grand Velle and Anubis, and that's when we all saw Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure, bro, and when he was in the room waking up. Didn't all of us wanted that collection he had of statues in the back, because that was another movie that opened up about, as far as what Kevin's asked about, what do I think of Godzilla's like star power and his like the fact that he's a pop culture icon. That was another thing. It was Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure. It was all the collectibles. It was when Godzilla was riding on the freaking on Santa's freaking what do you call it, sleigh at the back of the movie, and then there was the Bad News Bears. I think when they were like touring Japan, where they did like a Godzilla parody with one of the Bad News Bears, and like Godzilla was all over the place. Godzilla versus Bambi before they when it was an introduction to Godzilla. Godzilla 1985. And he was all over the place, man. Like Godzilla was, even back then, like he was all over the place. So that's what I think about it. And then now he's everywhere. I mean, it's like Anubis said, he was in little spurts here and there as far as being the pop culture. And then like even towards the 70s, somebody mentioned something about Godzilla. It would always have to be like a little line about, "Oh, I ain't Godzilla, bro. I'm tough, but I ain't Godzilla." So it's like
there was even an episode of MacGyver. I think it had to deal with a science fair or something, but the sign for it outside had some inflatable Godzillas with it.
And Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, there was a reference to when he came up, he goes, "Dr. Connors is the lizard. I swear to God, Dr. Connors is the lizard." And the chief was just like, "Do I look like a man from Tokyo?"
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like it's a lot different. It's a lot different. Like we have different generations here. We have so many generations, different eras. As far as us growing up, you know, being coming from different backgrounds and walks of life. You know, like Professor and John are and Big Bad Wolf are. You know, they're much younger than we are, but I mean, their love for Godzilla as a character and as a whole is just as even as any one of us. So that's what I'm saying about his, you know, about Godzilla's, uh, his, in other words, his star power of being a pop culture
Yeah,
icon is just
yeah. The
amazing.
fact he's crossed so many multimedia beyond film.
Yeah.
Daniel, what's your thoughts on him crossing, going from just being a film in the film franchise to beyond?
I think it's fantastic, personally, because now that he's gone, as you say, he's gone into video games, then he got into comics. Now he's basically crossed into anime, which, yeah, I mean, I'm all for. Give us more games, give us more anime, but also keep giving us more movies. And it's also interesting that on the topic of series, Monarch has now got season 2 in production, so there's going to be a lot more expanding on the
Yeah.
MonsterVerse version of Godzilla. But I'm also wondering,
Yeah.
what if
Well,
Toho?
that's gonna come into me next. That's gonna come into me in a question later on that I've got.
Right. So I'll
About
save that point for when that comes up.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, so my next question is, so I've asked you how you feel about Godzilla turning 70. I've asked you how you feel about him crossing over to multimedia or beyond the movies. So my third question is, in the 70 years, how do you think Godzilla has influenced the film industry? And in who he's inspired? So I straight away can say off the top of my head, Steven Spielberg. You know, Steven Spielberg has even mentioned as a filmmaker, he remembers a kid seeing Godzilla and wanted to be a film director.
Yeah.
So straight away, that is a huge influence, and he has influenced one of the greatest film directors of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Shit.
think Fred
So-
Decker
That's no
was also
surprise.
one of them.
Yes. So, Daniel, do you want to talk a bit about how you think he's influenced the film industry and
Yeah.
inspired?
Absolutely. I mean, he's gone to inspire filmmakers like, as you say, Steven Spielberg, but also Tim Burton and John Carpenter. And they've all, as much as they've been inspired, they've also found something unique or interesting to take away from what they've learned from that. And there's also a lot of also these little Easter eggs that have found themselves in cartoons and shows. Like, for instance, if you look at The Simpsons, and you look at something like one of the I forget which episode it was, but there was, I think it was set in the toy aisle, and there was a dinosaur that had very peculiar spikes on its back, and like, yeah, that is definitely Godzilla right there. But yeah, absolutely, its influence, it's endless. Its inspiration is forever lasting, just like its legacy. And I think that for as long as Godzilla's around, he will always continue to inspire one generation after the next generation and then the next. What's that? Yeah, he'll be back. Yeah.
Okay. So Daniel, Sci-Fi, how do you feel he's influenced?
It's pretty. Well, I'm gonna say it's pretty much simple, man. Even in his own country, he's the one that influenced someone to create Gamera.
Mm.
So
He basically
Gamera,
create a genre all on his own.
yeah, he created the genre, and then I'm not gonna mention all of them. I'm just gonna mention the two ones that I resonate with, and that's just of course with Gamera, because Gamera to me is also probably a deep second, but it also has to be Gorgo.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Gorgo. And but I mean, I'm not gonna mention all of them, but those are the ones to me that I feel. And he started a genre, but I mean, there's so many other filmmakers that have said they were inspired by Godzilla. An actor, I'll say an actor. It wasn't necessarily Godzilla, but it was from. He was inspired by. He was an actor who was inspired by. That he was inspired by watching a Toll film, and that was Brad Pitt when he saw the War of the Gargantuas, and the War of the Gargantuas was also made by Shiro Honda and E.G. Tsuburaya. So that's why that was another influence. So
I have something I'd like to add to that. So you mentioned War of the Gargantuas. Has anyone ever seen one of the more previously animated Scooby-Doo show back in the 2010s called Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated? It was like more of an anime style animation Scooby-Doo show. So they had an episode in season 2 called War of the Humungonauts. That entire episode was a callback to War of the Gargantuas, because at the very beginning, it begins in a tiki bar where they fight each other. Before that, the woman there was literally singing "The words get stuck in my throat," like what happened in War of the Gargantuas before Gyro comes out of nowhere and grabs her. And then two other main ones that.
Hello, Omni.
Yo, Omni!
Yes.
And the one that pretty much stuck to me throughout my life wasn't just Gorgo, but the first one I was introduced to that was non-Godzilla, but Godzilla inspired, was Yungary. I remember watching Yungary Horror from the Deep.
Yeah.
And that one stuck out to me more than Gorgo did.
Wait,
Because he was like a combination between Gamera and Godzilla as well as the Gaius. Because his roar was like Gamera's. He could breathe fire like Gamera, but his horn could shoot out a laser like the Gaius. But his body was pretty much like Godzilla.
Yes.
Yeah. And to add on to the Gargantua's part, the Simpsons comic book issue 164. Homer Stein conquers the world.
Oh my gosh!
War of the Gargantua Homer Steins. So we got 2 movies.
That is pretty neat.
Yeah, I mean, look at this.
yeah, wow. I didn't even know that. See, that's what I'm saying. I didn't even know I didn't even know about that.
Yeah. And also remember that famous singer?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Who knew the Gargantuas were such tough critics?
Gargantuas are quite popular. They're more popular than I think people realise.
Yeah.
So, Anthony Jordan, how do you feel Godzilla's influenced?
Well, it's not just film, but not just filmmakers, but even filmmaking technique itself. The first movie really pioneered the art of suitmation, and without suitmation, we don't have the original Alien, we don't have the original Predator. There's even a handful of werewolf movies we don't have because that art was never pioneered. So it made so many other films possible because Haruo Nakajima decided to take the job suffering inside a latex sweatbox and under hot studio lights. And it just, like I said, we talk about the filmmakers it inspired, but just the technique it pioneered that made so many of our other favorite franchises even possible in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sorry. I'd also like to add on to Anthony's point, the risks that Nakajima and the other suit actors took on, because they were in the suits when they were buried underneath the sets. They were in the suits when they had explosive charges all over their neck and shoulders. Nakajima was in the suit when Godzilla's head burst into flames in Godzilla vs. the Thing, and he almost drowned in the Rodan suit when one of the wires supporting him during flight broke and he plunged head first into that water tank.
And I think that moment with the wire snapping is actually caught on film.
Yeah.
Oh wow, really?
And like he actually, once they pulled him out of the suit, he shrugged it off like it was nothing.
Yeah.
Even like the first guy who tested the Godzilla suit, because how bad the first suit was made, he actually fell during the test shooting and actually like broke his foot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Walter, how do you feel Godzilla has influenced beyond the movies, or who do you think is influenced?
Well, I'll just pick on one in particular, and because a Big Bad Wolf brought up one about Yorgi, you know, that's from Korea, if I'm not mistaken, and how it influenced that country. But he's also influenced Thailand and China with different iterations of their own kaiju. But the one person that I'm going to mention is James Cameron. And I know some people have said that this is not based on fact or anything like that, but I have a suspicious feeling that with him, when you look at a film like Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, when you see the moment when the fake Godzilla melts off the his attire, which is Mechagodzilla underneath, you can't help but think like, did James get this kind of inspiration for the moment when the Terminator's skin burns off and everything?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just very. I've read that he, you know, this is something he got in a nightmare and everything. But it's like
he was sick.
but I'm just like, are you really sure that you didn't watch this film and get some kind of inspiration from that? Because that seems too on the nose with that that moment. And then also going to another person, there's one other person, George Lucas, how he developed the Force in the Star Wars franchise. That moment when Godzilla becomes from the same film, when Godzilla becomes magnetized and he's able to pull Mechagodzilla down from flying away, it's almost like, what did he might have got some inspiration from that? Because as I said, that's too much on the nose, even though I'm pretty sure that's not where he got it from.
Especially the hand movements, with how Godzilla literally did like his hand movements, like how the Jedi do the Force.
Yeah, I don't think it was with the Terminator. I don't think it was a conscious. I believe his story about being sick and having a fever dream, but he also probably seen that movie when he was younger and it affected him on the subconscious level and that played into the dream.
Another thing we should mention how Godzilla influenced is I remember Michael Dougherty saying this when he was always on interviews for Godzilla King of Monsters. He said, before MCU, before Middle Earth, before the Fast and the Furious franchise, before what's going on with the DC movie universe, there was Toho's little universe going on in the 60s and 70s. Toho were the first ones to come up with that concept of a shared universe in cinema.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yes. So, G. Cole, what's your opinion of how Godzilla has influenced the film industry?
It's kind of funny in a way, considering the fact that King Kong was originally the first giant kaiju to be in development, but it was Godzilla who basically stride on, and because of that, it influenced, like everyone says, like George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, just about any actor or whoever has been inspired by this kaiju with all sorts of goodies. Is the best way I can say it. But Godzilla has definitely influenced a bunch of people, whether it's a movie director or like us as much as we love the Kaiju franchise. I mean, he's been a big influence on everyone, pretty much. That's the way I see it.
I know you said what you feel Big Bad was, but what does DJ Anubis feel? How do you think Godzilla's inspired the film industry and beyond?
Well, I think a lot of you guys have already covered so much of it, but I'm going to go and say forward. So I think right now Godzilla with -1 has influenced writing because the story of -1 is stronger than Godzilla. Like it's so good. Like, and the fact that people have to kind of look at kaiju movies a different way now, especially with Godzilla being the focus of the movie, gives a new appreciation. We're no longer really looking at, like, I mean, obviously 54 and Hedorah were much more serious takes with serious dialogue and plot devices, but -1, man, it's a game changer all the way around. Like it just is. Every time I've seen people react to -1 that aren't even like diehard kaiju fans, like they're brought to tears, and it's not tears about seeing a monster on the screen. It's tears about the storyline and what it means to be human and humanity behind it. So, for all the things that Godzilla has influenced over the years of its existence, I think now is where it's going to start changing how we look at kaiju films in general. I think it's -1 is like this new benchmark for how even other directors approach kaiju films. You know,
well, basically, everyone has said many times when 1954 came out, it influenced Japan, it influenced a generation. It also put, the forefront. It put a magnifying glass over nuclear power and the nuclear testings, and the aftermath of all of that, the radiation. That's why it became such an influential movie, because of the messages hidden within the film. And then a lot of people have said the similar with other movies. Hedorah, Godzilla versus Hedorah, it's about pollution. And, that came out way back in the 1970s, and now we're constantly talking about global warming.
Yeah.
And, you've got 1984, that had a lot of people are saying that is the 1954 for a new generation, which I thought had a closeness to it. Then you had Shin Godzilla, and then finally -1. I think outside the original 1954, -1 is the closest film that has had such a cultural impact compared to the original.
Yeah,
and I
Kevin.
think.
Okay, I was gonna add. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, man. I was gonna say this. I wanted to give a little assist also to Anubis, also that he mentioned about writing as far as being influential for Godzilla. We cannot forget the artists, man, like the people who draw, who make comics, who do that, and artists were highly inspired by Godzilla, drawing Godzilla, like especially when we all went to G Fest and we bought each other art. It's just like when Anubis bought me the one when Anubis bought me the posters of Bob Eggleton. Bob Eggleton was highly inspired and influenced by Godzilla, drawing Godzilla as an artist. So I just forgot to mention that. I wanted to give Anubis an assist on that, as he talked about writing, which is basically art. It's like part of the arts, like acting, writing, art being artistic, music. E.G. Tsuburaya. I'm pretty sure E.G. I mean, no. Akira Ifukube inspired other musicians to open up about their especially orchestra, music like that. I just wanted to mention that. I just wanted to throw that out there just to.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, and the reason I have, because we've all talked about how we all got together through this mutual passion of this genre and franchise. But I also believe this franchise, like you've also mentioned, sci-fi, how it helped you deal with a tough period of your life. It gave you that escapism from things that were going on in your childhood. It also has inspired people who maybe feel they don't fit in, or they've got issues, and it helps with their anxiety and their stress. Which brings me to this. When we were at G-Fest, there was a mother who had a stall where her son, who had a lot of, I don't know if he had health issues or he had mental health issues, but to help him with his issues and his health issues, he found art to find that escapism. But he was a huge Godzilla fan, and his family, his mother, his auntie, had paid to come to G-Fest with him to sell his art, to go towards his healthcare, or just to go towards help him, pay for something that he really wanted, which I thought was very inspiring. So I, of course, was gifted by Mr. Sci-Fi Sentry one of his art pieces.
Yeah.
Which was Godzilla 1954.
Wow.
So I found his story so inspirational. And he's even got his initials AK 2022 written on the bottom of this art piece. So
I think that's the thing
not,
about. I think that's the thing you've realized with the fandom is, as Sci-Fi was mentioning, how it influenced the artists, in their drawing and everything. I feel it influences other content creators like us or others, to kind of fill that void of something that they want to express in themselves, and that gives them the leeway to say, it's a creature of unknown power and everything, but it influenced them to say how they can be able to talk, not to be closed up, and that. And if you notice when you went to G-Fest, there were abundance of, maybe not abundance, but you notice there were some people who are at autism. But the thing about that is that they didn't allow that to stop them from expressing themselves in a way that, others might, can do, because it's an outlet for them. And I feel that Godzilla is something that inspires them to say, hey, I have a voice. I'm going to express myself here. And like I say, I know some people who have YouTube channels who express themselves on these platforms. And it's a beautiful thing knowing that they don't allow that whatever to stop them from doing that expression. They go ahead and say, hey, I'm a person in this world. I'm going to do this. And that's kind of what Godzilla is. He's an entity that says, I'm going to break through this barrier and make make myself known, and I feel that inspiration does a lot for these not just fans, but just these individuals who want to express themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
100% agree with you.
And just think, all of this is because a co-production with Indonesia fell through, and Tomiyuki Tanaka was desperate to find something to fill that release gap.
And he was on the banger. And as you see, you had the Beast of 20,000 Fathoms, and them came out in 1954 as well. So these, it was at the height of the crazy 1950s sci-fi era that all this came about. But my next question is, it's just a fun question. As you know, we've talked about what we feel about Godzilla turning 70. We've talked about how he's reached across multimedia. Now we've talked about how he's inspired. So let's quickly talk about, with Godzilla, for him to be successful, he has had to have faced some pretty decent foes that have also become legendary. So my next question is simple. Who is your favourite Godzilla foe and why? That has helped to create
The
this
critics.
legacy.
Good answer, actually.
Yes.
That's a good one.
I have to agree with John 100% on that. That the critics are the bad ones.
It was out that or the bad portion of the fan base.
So we'll start from the top to the bottom, Mr. DG Anubis.
He's used to being on the bottom.
Well, actually, it's me.
Wait a minute, who said
We'll
that?
not go there.
John said that.
Who said it?
John.
John.
All right. Anyway,
Worth it.
yeah.
Hey, John. Hey, now you're gonna be underneath sexual chocolate. So I hope you like it dark and black. Hope you like it hot and black.
Treat him real special, Walter. Treat him real special.
Hot, black, and steamy, baby.
Oh no, he's gonna like the vanilla latte I had in store for him.
Okay.
It's going down the goal.
Hey man, whatever floats your boat there.
Here comes Santa Claus.
Go ahead, Anubis. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, mine's got to be King Ghidorah. I mean, it just has to be. It's not so much. I mean, obviously, people will have their opinions about who is the strongest villain that he's ever faced, but for me, Ghidorah just is the one that always comes to mind when I think about his biggest arch enemy. Because you've seen Godzilla fight Ghidorah more than some of the other ones. Even Mecha Godzilla, despite appearing a lot against Godzilla, is oftentimes can be used as either for the humans or just its own alien entity. So Ghidorah is the one. I love Ghidorah's look. I love the idea behind King Ghidorah. And again, when it comes to King of the Monsters, like I just love how Legendary just brought it to life. Like I always appreciate the older movies and how they took Suitmation and made it all work. But looking at the way that CGI was able to bring to life, creatures like Rodan and Mothra, but Ghidorah was just so epic and so huge and just so much fun. Even with the idea that the one head was a Kevin, but no pun intended there. Yeah.
Is it Kevin him that make Kevin's like you look bad?
What's that?
No, I was asking Kevin. Is it Kevin's like that, like the Ghidorah Kevin that makes Kevin's like you look bad?
Yeah.
No, because I think deep down, Kevin out of the head is the mastermind. He's just pretending to be a thick fuck.
No, wait. He's like the Kaiser Sose of the Ghidorah heads.
Yeah,
a bit like myself.
That's a good approach.
Never underestimate this ginger motherfucker.
And like that, he's gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Because mine is King Ghidorah for sure.
Yes, Anthony Jordan.
Well, to go with Anubis, I would have to go King Ghidorah. Maybe an honorable mention to Gigan, but it's just when you think Godzilla's opponent, you think King Ghidorah, and even though it was already cemented, Godzilla 2019 just reinforced that, like that first scene where they just both laid eyes on each other, and you could just feel the history between these two characters, that they hate each other to the core, and just he's one of the opponents that's consistently taken Godzilla to the limit and back more than any other. So, yeah, King Ghidorah, easy.
Well, Sci-Fi Sentry.
Gotta go with the Golden Destroyer, man. Gotta go with the Golden Destroyer. It's like Mechagodzilla had his time. Can't deny Mechagodzilla was a brutal opponent, but then Mechagodzilla had to be turned into second rate and needed Titanosaurus in the other film, which shows Mechagodzilla's a one trick pony. But it's like and then Kiryu, they had Kiryu, but Kiryu needed a little bit of still needed a pilot, and then back to SOS, where Mothra needed to assist. The larvae needed to assist. So Ghidra, aside from, or King Ghidorah, aside from his Heisei interpretation, yeah, it's just you think a nemesis, you think a rival, you think Godzilla's Rocky to, you get Godzilla's Rocky to, King Ghidorah in fucking, as Apollo Creed. That's how I see it. It's that's the way it is. And like Anubis, he made a good point that, and Anthony, that Ghidorah like just takes Godzilla to his absolute limit, man. And whoever thought we would see in King of the Monsters, that I had never thought about, even at this day, I never thought about the fact that Ghidorah literally went almost near the atmosphere to drop Godzilla on the ground. And that's fucking like, that's sinister shit. That's savage shit. Like, so that's why I gotta go with King Ghidorah, man.
The music that played as Godzilla's being dropped from the sky just made that even more impactful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I have to go with King Ghidorah, the Golden Destroyer, the Golden Destroyer, the King
one
of
who is many.
Yeah, the one who was many.
The King of Terror.
The King of Terror. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Monster Zero, the
Yep.
Planet Eater.
Yeah,
The
I
Planet
put
Eater.
the parallel to Legion with the one who is many line.
Yeah.
The living extinction event.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, man.
I like that one, Anthony. Jake Hall.
Well, for me, Mechagodzilla. That's going to be my pick. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know Ghidorah's one of his main, but for me, it's Mechagodzilla because besides King Ghidorah giving Godzilla a run for his money, Mechagodzilla is the only one that has really and truly nearly killed Godzilla, whether he's been controlled or not. But for me, it's Mechagodzilla.
They're good points. I mean, it is. That's why I mentioned like the first, 74.
Well, he's a machine, isn't he? He's like a whole. He's not made of flesh or blood. He's
He
a
doesn't
pure
get tired.
killing machine.
Well,
He
Legendary
doesn't
was
get-
the one that got it the closest because that's when they actually took it seriously and said, "Yeah, this machine doesn't get tired." Like Godzilla, Kong. If not for Kong, Godzilla been milquetoast. Like that's
even in Terror of Mechagodzilla, if it wasn't for that thing that shot the supersonic waves to weaken Titanosaurus, it probably would have been lights out.
Yeah, it's like I'll give it. I mean, I'll quote what Rob Osato said about his reaction to Mechagodzilla and Godzilla vs. Kong. The beating Godzilla took he went from Team Godzilla to Team Mechagodzilla just like that.
Yes.
He said he was embarrassed to be Team Godzilla, seeing how badly Mechagodzilla just beat the living shit out of him. I mean, there was a moment where he literally curb stomped him.
But we all know Godzilla, if he was fresh, he would have wrecked Mechagodzilla.
I've compared that scene to imagine the famous fight, Rumble in the Jungle, between Muhammad Ali and George Foreman. Muhammad Ali just beat George Foreman, then Prime Mike Tyson stepped into the ring. That's what that was.
But we all gotta remember, man, like I said, like I'm gonna be like, oh man, you know what? I'll always go to the fact that Godzilla, if he was fresh, he didn't have to go through Kong, he would have wrecked Mechagodzilla.
Exactly.
Would have wrecked them. Would have been tougher. I'll just say, I'll give Mechagodzilla this. He would have been tougher. He would have been a tougher fight than Kong, that's for sure. But
that's my point with the fight analogy. Would Ali have beaten Tyson? Probably so, but would he have beaten him moments after his fight with Foreman?
Yeah.
That's a fair assessment too, because when you think of Godzilla in the last film, he was at his strongest. So depending on how Godzilla had been energied up and everything else after going through these other creatures, like, I mean, maybe Mechagodzilla and Godzilla like hang together in that film, but if you take Godzilla from Empire, he probably would have beaten the shit out of Mechagodzilla.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, with the fact
yes.
that he more
I
better
think Evolved
control-
Godzilla would have just wiped him out.
I mean, Godzilla's a little faster. His arms were longer. It's like his physique, his evolved form, his physique matched Mechagodzilla's physique. The only thing is, Mechagodzilla is still taller and heavier. But it seems
we
like
also
his... Sorry
go
about
ahead,
that.
Go ahead, John. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, even despite the whole size difference, it seems like that's just one thing I noticed when the evolved state was first announced, and you got to look at it. It seemed the physique, especially when you looked at the figure or the model, it's very similar to Mechagodzilla's physique. So I wonder if they looked at it and were like, you know what? Let's try to make Godzilla like how Mechagodzilla was. It will just make it to where he can control his atomic breath by 20 times better.
Mention it. You got a point there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I was like, before I get to Walters, I just wanted to say this, like, yeah, Kong earned my respect even more after Godzilla versus Kong, but Godzilla should have known in a way, should have known that he kind of did underestimate Kong. He kind of did underestimate Kong, and that's why Godzilla had to exert more energy and really like he made an example out of Kong. He made an example, but if he would have just taken out Kong real quick and be like, "Look, man, I'm gonna beat you and beat him," okay, whatever, he could have just easily went on and taken on Mechagodzilla.
Yeah, when Godzilla put Kong into cardiac arrest, it was during that moment where you could tell he was just done with him. He's just like, I've been fucking with you through this entire time. Now I'm kind of sick of it. He's like, I got better things to do, and you're just in my way.
Yep. Go ahead, Walt.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, I had to look. It's been many iterations of villains and people that he's fought against. I mean, Biolante comes to mind. Even Megalon definitely comes to mind sometimes. And like I say, even before mentioned King Ghidorah. I mean, not King Ghidorah. I was going to say King Ghidorah, but Mega Godzilla. But King Ghidorah has to be top priority when it comes to Godzilla's greatest foe. I mean, let's just be honest. When you are a three-headed, two-wing, two-tail, big behemoth-looking motherfucker, it's like, yeah, you're the new kid on the block, and you from out of state. I think it's pretty much obvious that he is one of those individuals that's like, yeah, I'm here to play in your sandcastle, and I'm going to knock it down. So what you going to do about it? And we've seen him time and time again in different iterations through the years, and every so often he's proven that he's a very formidable foe. And like I say, like Anubis mentioned, when he was in King of the Monsters, I'm just like, dude, he was so fluid in his movement because he's, like I say, he's like massive, and it's like you want to take me on? Let's go, bitch. Talking to Godzilla, it's like, man, I mean, King Ghidorah will forever to me be the top priority villain in Godzilla's resume for sure.
Daniel Miller.
All right, now this one, there's one
Daniel,
main villain, and
Professor. I'm gonna ask, and I want to see if I can guess your favorite Godzilla villain, Varan.
Really?
Damn it!
I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry,
Except
man. Go ahead.
Godzilla never fought for Varan.
All right.
I guess it, man. I know. It is like, but he loves
Anyone
Varan.
legendary just so happens to see this, please get Varan into a movie. It needs to happen. Come on. Anyway, right.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
So yeah, one top choice and two honorable mentions. The one I'd have to agree with, it's Ghidorah, because of course, not only has he faced Godzilla countless times throughout the Showa, and of course his most iconic fight, in my opinion, in the Heisei era, where he is pretty much choking Godzilla to death with just one of his necks wrapped around Godzilla's neck, just constricting him to passes out. But then in King of the Monsters, he was elevated to just another iconic character in a roster to the ultimate endgame boss in King of the Monsters, and also a very brutal one in that movie. The honorable mentions first, Destroyer, the living oxygen destroyer. Now, even though burning Godzilla is much powerful than regular Godzilla, Destroyer almost brought Godzilla past his knees and into the ground after killing Junior.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
You know
yeah,
what? I
definitely.
can I just interject for 1 second? Everyone blows up Destroyer that he is the big bad. He's the one that nearly killed Godzilla. He was killed by humans.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
the downside.
So for me, if you're that fucking bad, you should, you know, human beings should not have been able to wipe you out that easily. You should have been like, you learn to be like the Satan of the Kaiju world. And you're taken out by humans. That was always my nitpick with Godzilla versus Destroyer.
At least to the credit, though, they did explain that the oxygen destroyer molecules break down with super low temperatures.
And extreme high temperatures.
Yeah.
And to add to that, what Kevin said, even in the comics, Godzilla Legends, Anguirus defeats Destroyer. Remember that?
He literally has Destroyer retreating, and that's how and he actually earned Godzilla's respect from that. Because as soon as Destroyer retreats, Godzilla shows up and just has that look of, well done.
And there's an alternative ending that wasn't out.
Yeah.
Where the alternative ending is where it's actually Godzilla that kills Destroyer.
That's right. He blasts him out of the sky with his spiral breath.
And there's a deleted scene where Destroyer actually had a chest beam.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Didn't see that.
Yeah, there are even some shots where that like claw-like thing on his chest is opened.
Yes, I agree. So Daniel, carry on. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, Ghidorah at 1, Destroyer at 2, then at 3, Mecha Godzilla. Because if you look at it, even in his first introduction, Mecha Godzilla 74, he makes Godzilla bleed. Like he has projectiles stuck into Godzilla's gut, and you think, oh shit, Godzilla might actually die in this movie. Then again, in the Heisei era, he paralyzes him with an anchor, shocking him with God knows how
But
much.
don't forget the first kaiju that made him bleed.
Gigan.
Yeah, that's true.
And you can debate in the 93 Mechagodzilla whether or not he actually killed him, and what Rodan did was a resurrection too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also true. So
So don't you all ever fucking talk shit about Rodan.
There you go.
Got saved by a chicken. Got saved by a chicken.
You know, it's funny. It's funny that you say that, Dan, because
I'm with
it's
Sci-Fi
the first
though.
time.
Rodan is fucking badass.
But you know what, Daniel brings up a good point. It was the first time that Gigan made a god bleed. If you think about it, you know.
Yeah.
The quote 300, a god king can bleed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the professor, man, the professor has all these. Like I said, he's like one step ahead of everybody, man. We think we want to say something all like, yeah, we want to make it dramatic. He just freaking throws everything. He just makes us all feel like little men.
Well.
So, Big Bad Wolf, who's your pick for greatest rival?
I think I can do picks for greatest rivals. I can do them for kind of like my favorites. So we'll go from number 3 to number 1 on greatest ones. So for 3, I would say, trying to think. Number 3, I want to go with Hedorah because I think Hedorah's heavily slept on.
Yes.
Because Hedorah literally gave Godzilla such a hard time in that film. Because from what I can remember, he almost drowned Godzilla in sludge. And I think that sludge was literally eating through his skin as well.
Yeah, by the end, you could see the bones in his hand.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even
So, like,
took
Hedorah got
time.
the closest, like, in the show era, Hedorah got the closest to killing him. And I mean, what I loved about that is when Giga Bash had him as a DLC, Hedorah's literally broken in that game. Like, he's one of the characters that you could easily eat away at opponents' health with Hedorah. So I love they did him just to show just how threatening he actually is, if you think about it. Number 2, obviously Mechagodzilla. Mechagodzilla pretty much is a machine. I mean, it's kind of like what was said in Terror Mechagodzilla when the scientist was like, Mechagodzilla's just a machine. Titanosaurus has brains, he's alive. But it kind of shown the weaknesses too. Whereas Titanosaurus can still get tired. Mechagodzilla can just go on forever until you finally destroy him. So it's like you could literally beat him to your fatigue, and then Mechagodzilla just be like, round 3, bitch, and then just chuck you, and that's it. Because literally, the only way to defeat him is to literally destroy his circuit board. Because that's what I think that's what happened in Terror Mechagodzilla. Because that's what happened in the first one, I believe, which is how Godzilla was able to bring him down with his magnetic powers and then rip off his head. And then, of course, we're gonna go with Ghidorah because let's look at all the monsters when they debuted. Gigan, when he debuted with Ghidorah. He was the first one to make Godzilla bleed, but he still debuted with Ghidorah. Megalon debuted with Gigan. Titanosaurus debuted with Mechagodzilla. Ghidorah was the first big bad that when he showed up, it required 3 other monsters to gang up on his ass. That kind of shows just how brutal and ferocious he is. And I mean, destroying monsters, even though, let's face it, they kind of did him dirty there. They could have had him put up a better fight. Destroying monsters, let's just not talk about that. That was pretty much a gangbang.
Well, I felt sorry for Ghidorah.
Yeah, I mean, literally, it's like he did not.
Because the Keylocks basically sent him to his death.
Pretty much, I mean, and Ghidorah 3 had a monster. It was like after that, Ghidorah was pretty much a jockey after that.
He basically, the destroy all monsters, it was basically them bringing a pocket knife to a sword fight.
Yeah, because again, Ghidorah 3 had a monster. Ghidorah showed that he's formidable. He was able to take on 3 opponents at once. Then after that, it's like they make Ghidorah look weak because when he's under control, he's badass. But then it's like once that control is broken, Ghidorah is just a wuss. I mean, it's the same with Heisei Ghidorah. It was the same way. Ghidorah was very powerful and formidable. But then once they destroyed the circuit board that was controlling Ghidorah was just easily annihilated by Godzilla. Then we go to King of the Monsters. Ghidorah, not controlled whatsoever, and literally pushed Godzilla to his limit.
Yes.
Yeah. Wait, what about Kaiju Ghidorah from Final Wars?
Oh yeah, I forgot about Kaiju Ghidorah too.
Yeah,
I was just about.
Yeah, he almost killed Godzilla as well.
I think my favorite version of Ghidorah outside of Godzilla, the Showa era one, the obviously the best one is the legendary one for me. Just that design alone. I think another design I like of King Ghidorah is the one from the 3rd Mothra film.
Yeah.
Yes, Grand King Ghidorah. I don't want to say Monster First Ghidorah because I feel like that's too obvious to say. I'm going to go Grand King Ghidorah because I love the looks of him. I like how they made his antlers that they put on his head look like reindeer antlers, and it gave him such a regal look.
It was like they took the Heisei King Ghidorah design and added about like 20% of Showa King Ghidorah.
Again, I love that they made his horns look like caribou antlers, and they just made him look so regal.
Yes. So, my next question is that your number one? Was it King Ghidorah?
Yeah, Ghidorah being number one, toughest, Godzilla number two, and Hedorah number three.
Well, my favorite villain is, of course, I love myself some Gigan. I love how he's like this machine meat skin, and he's just a badass. I love myself some Hedorah, and of course, I love myself some King Ghidorah. But I think as well, the villain that is, I guess, should be mentioned but is never mentioned is Dr. Zerazawa.
Okay.
Because
Human
Dr.
being.
Zerazawa created the thing that ended Godzilla in the very first film. He actually found he could have been the world's greatest villain if his oxygen destroyer got into the hands of the wrong people.
Is he really a villain?
He is, for me, he's a villain without knowing he's a villain. He's a man like humanity who, through good intentions, he creates bad things without him knowing.
Which
And
is
I
why
think-
he killed himself.
Which I think like a silent villain.
He's kind of a not an Albert Einstein in that respect, because after the atomic bombings, I believe Einstein was quoted as saying something to the effect of, if he had known what his discovery would have led to, he would have become a watchmaker.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say my favorite villains would be Gigan, Mechagodzilla, and Hedorah.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say Ghidorah, but I'm going to go for some of the other ones. And I mean, Gigan was the first film I watched, and he was the first one to make Godzilla bleed. I just like the overall design of him.
Mm-hmm. So let's try and. So I was gonna ask you next who your favorite ally is, but mine personally is Anguillus.
Yep.
And you started off as being the first four. Now I know you love Anguillus, DJ Anubis, and I know people have took the piss that he doesn't get much love. But I'm quite happy to announce that I've just read that SH Monster Art have just announced they are bringing Anguillus 1972 to their collection. The first ever articulated Anguillus figure.
What happened with a bloody nose, like what happened in Godzilla vs. Gigan?
Yeah.
But
Yeah, there he is.
Oh, cool.
So that will be coming real soon because they released the Gigan, they released the Godzilla, now they released an Anguillus. I would like to think they would release a King Ghidorah, a Showa era King Ghidorah, because I haven't done one yet.
There was that. Mate, I think there was a bootleg Monster Art.
Yeah, there was the bootleg one, yeah.
there was the Revotech one.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
quickly just go around and just see who our favourite ally is, and then we're going to move on to something else. So, Anubis.
Definitely Anguirus. And it's sad that, he doesn't really get as much love as he should. This is why whatever happens with, the next film in Toho, like I've said it before, either it's one of two things for me that I want to see. It's either I want to see Biollante show up again, because it's only been the one time that we've seen her. But if that's not the angle, then I would like to see maybe him do Godzilla Raids again, where we get to see Anguirus in a new version or an updated version of Anguirus, because I think he's really an underestimated kaiju, and it's time that either he'll probably never do a solo film, but I would love to see one of him. But yeah, he's the guy that stands by Godzilla the most.
Yeah, big bad.
Outside of Mothra.
Yeah.
So to piggyback off what Anubis said, I mean, I'm thinking either Biollante, Raids again, or Hedorah, since Yamazaki did mention that a film that he would like to do for -1 would involve Hedorah.
What's up, Loki?
What up, Loki? But yeah, I'd say for favorite ally, it's a toss-up between Anguirus and King Caesar. Because King Caesar was literally the ultimate troll in versus Mechagodzilla. Because when he first woke up and Mechagodzilla like 3 times tried to blast at King Caesar and King Caesar, what happened was he just kept on blasting right back at him. And it was just always funny because Mechagodzilla was just like, what the hell?
Hello, welcome.
And then, of course, again, Anguirus, just because he's always been the one, as Anubis did, by Godzilla's side the most. And I mean, even though some of his highlights or some of his battles aren't always the better ones, like when he ran straight into a buzzsaw and all that, he still keeps fighting no matter what happens to him. And I mean, in Rulers of Earth, there was a scene where Godzilla and Anguirus are up against this entire army of Mechagodzillas, with Mecha King Ghidorah leading the charge, and Godzilla literally grabs Anguirus and uses him as a flare throughout the entire fight. And as that entire fight's done, Godzilla is just exhausted, and Anguirus gives him a look that's pretty much him making fun of him for being tired. And Anguirus is just ready for round 2.
Yes. So, is Sci-Fi back yet?
I assume not.
So we'll skip the G call.
But I have a feeling it's going to be Rodan.
You're probably not wrong there. Oh, Lord.
Anubis should have a picture of a chicken queued up.
I'm going to say
Dude,
I'll say
you
this.
fucking gave it away. I'm working on that shit.
Don't spoil the surprise.
Right.
I'm going to say this. 3 for allies is Rodan, then Mothra, but number 1's going to be Anguirus, because he's been a true ally through most of the films, with the exception of 2.
Anubis, I think I got the perfect picture for you. Just I'll hear you.
All right,
Here we
sorry.
go. Here's Rodan.
All right, sorry.
Look on Facebook, Anubis.
Right. Now that we've talked about foes, we're talking about allies, Sci-Fi. So you're next. Who's your favorite ally? Let's see if I can guess.
Well, you guys already know, but
it's definitely Jet Jaguar.
all of Godzilla's. I liked all of Godzilla's allies. It's just that I love because I love Rodan, love Mothra, Anguirus too.
There you go.
Ramped up
That's
2
right.
kills.
Yeah, look how badass that chicken is.
You're welcome, Anubis. That's
And
the
he's
chicken
still-
That's the stone chicken
living.
from Surf's Up.
And he still made it. And he still made it to Hollywood, man. So you guys can talk smack all you want. But what do you call it? It's got to be. I love Anguirus too, man. Anguirus's role in Godzilla vs. Gigan was amazing. But I guess because I had saw Ghidorah 300 Monster first. I guess it had to be Rodan, but it's like a tie. It's like a tie between Rodan and Anguirus as far as allies.
Jedi Grand Velle.
Well, I'm gonna kind of do a scale that Big Bad Wolf mentioned. My top 3. First start. From the bottom up. I'm just gonna go with King Caesar, which I feel he was a very powerful ally, and it's gonna surprise some of you. Anguirus, I feel he's a very good ally to Godzilla. But you probably got, and I think Big Bad Wolf already gave it away. My favorite ally to Godzilla is, of course, Jet Jaguar.
I knew it was going to be Jet Jaguar.
Yeah, you already knew. I mean, if
did.
you didn't know that already, it's like y'all don't know me very well.
King Caesar.
It's
I
almost
forgot.
like there's no other Godzilla movie in the universe with Jedi. It's like this one.
Yeah,
But
pretty much.
I will admit, if anyone's seen the short film that was released last year on Godzilla Day,
Oh
that
yeah,
for me was amazing with Jet Jaguar. The fact that
because
they
that was all
rebuilt the
done.
suit.
Yeah,
And
all-
as you know, Sunday, tomorrow is Godzilla Day.
Well, that's
Godzilla
today
Day,
in our time zone, Kevin.
yes,
Yeah.
so congratulations to us, Daniel. We are now
Yeah.
officially in Godzilla Day, Godzilla's birthday.
Happy
in the new
70th.
Happy 70th.
Yep.
Yes, because as you know, Godzilla Day is held every year, no matter what day it's on, in Japan on November the 3rd, because that is the day that 1954 came out. And it is a day of celebration in Japan of all things Godzilla.
It's literally a national holiday for them.
Yes, and they literally, obviously, Godzilla Day, this is the poster for his 70th birthday. And today is the day where they're going to make, most of the time it's merchandise announcements, but I'm hoping we're going to get a little bit more detailing on the new movie. But we'll talk about that in just a minute, because I'm sure it was last year in Godzilla Day that they announced -1. Or was it the year before?
Year before.
Yes, it was definitely, well, it was still held on Godzilla Day when the announcement came. And so, Daniel Miller, your next favourite ally.
All right, my favorite ally. I'm gonna have to. I have to agree with DJ and the others and say my favorite ally would have to be Anguirus, because when you look at him fighting Godzilla in Raids Again, he's this sort of underdog, always going in for the fight, not taking that much of a break between fights. And he's like that again in Destroyer Monsters and Godzilla vs. Gigan. Even after he has a buzzsaw to the face, he still keeps on going in for the fight. So, yeah.
For me, it's the whole thing against Mecha Godzilla when he knew he was a double ganger. He wasn't the real Godzilla, and he went after him. And then,
he knew as soon as he knocked off part of the disguise, he was like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, yeah. And it only took until he almost got his jaw ripped off that Anguirus then decided to back down from the fight. But until then, he was just relentless. He was like, "No, I ain't giving up. You may kick my ass all you want, but I'm still getting up and I'm coming for you." Yeah,
That's why. That's why I mentioned. That's why I mentioned it's between Rodan and Anguirus, because Anguirus he's tenacious, man. He gets his ass beat and he still keeps going. Like I commend that. Like
Anguirus is pretty much Vegeta. Is pretty much the Vegeta of the Kaiju verse.
Yeah, he doesn't stop. But then I like Walter. I forgot about King Caesar, man. And King Caesar is really cool too. And all of I like all of Godzilla's allies. I like all of Godzilla's allies. But that's what I want.
It's a really good moment in Rulers of Earth comics when he helps free all the monsters from the Trilopod. Kind of like, I forget what it's called, but pretty much they got captured, they're getting their DNA extracted. King Shark literally frees them and breaks them out. And then the panel, the capture is literally Earth monsters assemble. And it's King Caesar leading the charge.
Definitely.
Just like Gorosaurus in Destroyer All Monsters. If it wasn't for Gorosaurus, it wasn't for Gorosaurus doing what he did, the kangaroo kick, who knows what would have been even more difficult. So
yeah. Wait, I have a question for a Big Bad Wolf. Is it Rulers of Earth where King Caesar beats Megalon to a pulp?
It may be, or it's a different comic. It may be Godzilla Rivals, because I think it's a comic that may have something to do with that series, but it's its own thing. But it kind of ties in because part of the lore is King Caesar and Megalon are longtime enemies.
Yeah,
the Cetopians and the Okinawans are pretty much enemies, and so King Caesar literally doesn't like Megalon because Megalon is a threat to the Okinawans, and of course King Caesar's thing is he's a guardian of Okinawa.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Wow.
I'll do just 3 honorable in the main. My number 1, 4, especially after Godzilla versus Kong and Godzilla X Kong, I would have to give it to Kong, which we never thought we would see them fight on screen again, much less have to join forces against something else.
Yes.
Number 3, Rodan, because of nothing else, in King in Ghidorah, the three-headed monsters, he was the general of the group. Number 2, Mothra.
Yes.
And number 1, Anguirus, just because of the beatings he takes and he just keeps moving forward. He's like a Timex watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for me, I would say Rodan is 3rd or 2nd, and I would say Anguillus and Mothra equal. Where I know sci-fi was like, it's like it's in between Rodan and Anguillus, but for me, it's in between Mothra and Anguillus more than Rodan. As much as I love Rodan's like a anti-hero. He can be a villain, he can be an ally, he can just be his own thing. Where ever since I would say Raids Again, Anguillus has been nothing but pure loyal to Godzilla. And Mothra has always been a bit like Rodan, where she can be his ally or she can be his enemy, but on the more side, she's been more like, I would say, like his conscience. She's always been there to turn the tide when you need her.
Funny thing about Godzilla and Rodan is that Rodan is sort of like Godzilla's little brother, because
it's like Homer Simpson and Bart Simpson.
No, it's just when you watch them, like in the Three-Headed Monster or King of the Monsters, like Three-Headed Monster,
like bickering brothers.
Huh?
They're like bickering brothers.
Yeah. Because like when Mothra shows up and she starts spitting webbing at him,
they're laughing at each other.
So yeah, Godzilla gets covered in it. Rodan's like, and then he gets spit with spit on it.
So what you're saying is they're like you and Tony.
Yeah.
Is Tony Rodan or Godzilla?
Yeah.
Oh, he's Rodan every fucking day. He's a chicken shit. Like, he's totally chicken.
See, I was joking with saying he's Homer and Bart because Homer's known for choking Bart. And there was a scene, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, where Godzilla literally grabs Rodan and is choking him.
Well, but then we can just fast forward to like King of the Monsters, where at the end, Rodan is bowing down to Godzilla. So we know in our relationship who the king is, right? Come on.
It's funny because Rodan kind of screeches at Godzilla, and Godzilla just literally snorts at him. And Rodan's like, "My bad."
I mean, the general point is that, like Kevin said, Mothra and Anguirus, like, despite their fights they've had early on in their relationships, like, eventually they're the most loyal to Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
Rodan is
also how they've created the lore.
Michael Dougherty mentioned in an interview that he said what he loves about Rodan is you'll never know whose side he's on.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's why I agree with Kevin. That's why I agree with Kevin, because I love Mothra too, man. All the allies, all Godzilla's top allies, I like them all. I mean, Mothra, Rodan, Anguirus, Sporosaurus, Jet Jaguar, all of them. I like all of them, but it has to be the big four. It has to be aside from the big four, it has to be Mothra, Rodan, and Anguirus. Well, that's the other big four.
Yeah. Can I mention something I forgot to mention from the other question, Kevin?
Mm-hmm.
I forgot to mention this because you know how I mentioned like the reason why Ghidorah is the baddest is because in his debut film it required 3 to gang up on him. I should have mentioned this. Mechagodzilla is second because it required 2 monsters to gang up on him.
Yes.
Godzilla and King Caesar.
Yes.
And which is why King Caesar is number 2 for me. Because even with those two, Mechagodzilla was still giving them a hard time. But that's why King Caesar is number 2 for me, and Anguirus will always be number 1. And Rodan will always be number 3.
And King Caesar beat the shit out of Megalon. So
yep, in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. So the final part of my discussion to celebrate Godzilla. We've talked about how we feel about him reaching 70. We've talked about his influence in Hollywood and beyond. And we've talked about his villains and his foes. Now it's time to talk about his future. In a way, we see the franchise going next. And we've already got an inkling. We have a brand new film on its way, made by the director of the Oscar-winning Godzilla -1, which, we could talk about this all day. We could do another stream on this, but we also need to talk about this. As much as it is Godzilla's 70th anniversary, it's also the 10th anniversary of the Monsterverse.
That's right.
And the
It's hard to
Monsterverse,
believe it's been around for that long.
yes,
Yeah.
it's doing way better than fucking DC. I know that.
Or Marvel, for that matter, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Don't forget Transformers, even though Transformers is starting to slowly bounce back.
Yes.
Mm.
Well, I will be bringing a review of Transformers 1 to the channel soon, because I'm catching up on films I've seen, but because I did a month of vampire and horror content, I didn't get around to doing reviews. So there will be some reviews I'll bring to the channel. But let's talk about the future of Godzilla in the Kaiju genre. So where do you think we're headed next, outside of what we've already been announced? And we'll start with DJ Anubis.
Well, yeah, I've already said basically when it comes to Toho what I would like to see, but irregardless of what they end up doing, I know it's in good hands because the director is really great. I just hope he doesn't kind of go like the way of Legendary and it goes into a more campy direction, because I thought what he did and started with -1 was a great foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And since Legendary is kind of already doing all the camp, I like to see the director go straight into more serious stuff and better writing, because he is a really good writer. So with that, in terms of that part of it, it's I hope either Biollante or Angirius, because again, I'd like to see an updated version of either. Obviously, because of what happens in Rico, it makes more sense to kind of go towards Biollante because it would make more sense with her. But as far as Legendary, I liked Monarch season 1. I thought it was good. It's different approach. Obviously, some people weren't that happy because there wasn't as much kaiju action, but I'm okay with that because it kind of brings a whole different dynamic to the Monsterverse that we don't have right now.
I agree.
So with the second season, if anything, I'd like to see them explore the kaiju a little bit more. Like, you don't necessarily need to have them fighting, but I would like to see a little bit more exploration into the backgrounds of some of them. But yeah, I think the future for the Monsterverse and Godzilla itself is in good hands all the way around. I just hope that the support for those particular franchises continue to be strong, because that's the only way it's going to survive and keep going is if they continue to get the support from the fans.
Very true. Big Bad Wolf.
Where do I think I see it going? That's the question, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I will say this, with this new announcement that we are getting a new Toho film directed by Yamazaki, we could speculate all day what the film is going to be, but the issue is it's going to be wherever Toho wants it to be. So Toho wants him to do a sequel to -1, we'll get a sequel to -1. If they want him to do something else, we're going to get something else. Either way, the future...
I think though, because he's had a film that's reached such a worldwide audience and it's won an Oscar, I do believe the director will have some leverage on his hands.
Yep.
Maybe not, because I think if you've released a Godzilla film and the first to win an Oscar and to be universally praised, then I think you will have more.
You'll be given more leeway.
Yeah.
More creative control.
Yeah, so with that, if we do get that -1 sequel, I mean, I speculate it's going to be Hedora because he mentioned in a recent interview he would love to be able to redo that film, in which I'm all for it because I feel like that film had potential to be really dark, but the issue was they had some scenes in there that made it too much like a Superman film. Because it was like as soon as Godzilla showed up, the sun shone bright in the background. You had that music playing that you would play if Superman showed up. So I would like to see what that film would have been like if it didn't have so much of those lighthearted moments.
Yeah.
But other than that, sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, I know interviews prior to this announcement, he was asked many times, if you were asked back to do another film, what would you do? And he always said he would like to do a direct sequel to -1, and he also said the story would probably focus more on Horiko. So I think that will be the direction, and I think he's already partly written this. I think he was asked way after the Oscars. I think soon as -1 won an Oscar, I think this has been in the works a hell of a lot more than I know.
I agree.
And I think the fact that he mentioned Hedora at Comic-Con when he was asked the question, if you could direct a sequel, who would you like to bring in? And he said Hedora.
Yeah, because he also mentioned, like, he said if he can do a sequel, he wants it to be Godzilla find another kaiju because he loves the challenge of making a film of two kaijus fighting to be as dark. Well, also to be as dark and serious tone as -1 was, with a captivating human story as -1 had.
But he also wanted what he's really inspired to do Hedora with. He wants to use CGI, which he is a CGI artist, to create Hedora's movement. He's obsessed with creating movement and to see this creature work on the screen using CGI in ways we've never seen. I've always thought as Hedora, if you could do a really dark, serious version, you could make Hedora like a Venom symbiote. This sludgy thing that crawls around and just can attack and do whatever it wants.
And I mean, it's like as soon as he touches Godzilla, he could absorb some DNA and thus grow up to be as big as his final form was in the 1971 film.
And because he's essentially just living sludge, even take like the Venom stuff out of it, he still has potential with CGI just to have this unnatural movement.
He could literally slither around like a snake in a very creepy, very unnatural fashion that could literally have the audiences just like, ugh. But but another thing I could see is Anubis mentioned MonsterVerse. The director of the new film, he was asked what his favorite film is, and he said his favorite Godzilla film has yet to be made, which could give us an indication that this new film is going to be more Godzilla centric. And
I think that's already in the pipework as well, because I think in all the interviews, the lead little breadcrumbs and hints, I think Legendary know that they've done enough with Kong. And
fans are wanting so much more Godzilla, because that's the main complaint I've been seeing, especially from my friend Redbeard the Great, is he's wanting to see more Godzilla, but I think the issue was they wanted to finish up Kong's story, because it seemed like Adam Ringo's priority was finishing Kong's arc. Because he did say before they had to ask another director was the next one, his plan was Godzilla was going to be alone. And so we were going to focus more on Godzilla's story.
Well, I think that's in the way. I think I've said this many times. Whenever a director takes over from another of a franchise, what ends up happening is I think they have like a portfolio or a manuscript with all the ideas or all like hints of direction of where the story could potentially go, and then the new director takes his portfolio with all his information in, and then he gels together his own ideas with those ideas and creates a mixture of both. And I generally
like each one of them makes like each one of them makes their own spin of what they would love to see.
Yes, and I generally think because of that, we will be getting a third film. And we are also now joined by Gojira.
851.
Yes, Gojira 851 has joined us.
What's
Hello.
up, man? How you feeling, man? Hope you're feeling better.
Yep, feeling better. Just got home from work.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Oh, sweet, sweet.
Nice.
So, yes, so we've been on for nearly 2 hours, so we've got probably maybe half an hour left before we sign off. So I asked the question, Gojira, because this is all about selling Godzilla and all that. I've asked how people feel about Godzilla making 70. I've asked how they think he's inspired pop culture, and I also asked who their favourite ally in 4 was. But now we're talking about Godzilla's future and where we think he could potentially head next. So, would you like to give us your ideas on where you think Godzilla could head next?
Where he could head next? Well, I guess it
Like
depends.
story wise or film wise?
Film wise, in the MonsterVerse, I'm not sure exactly. There's a lot of threads that have been set up for the MonsterVerse. People are thinking that Space Godzilla is the next step to go. I'm thinking Destroya is the next step. Others are saying that Ghidorah, like a new version of Ghidorah, might be coming. We're just gonna have to wait and
Yes.
see. But I like those are my 3 picks for
If
Monster
it's more Godzilla centric, I think a number of things. I think Destroyer,
Yeah, Destroyer.
or I think they'll introduce a baby Godzilla, and it'll be roles reversed where Kong finds a baby Godzilla and he's got to lead it to Godzilla while he's fighting something on the surface.
Absolutely.
How-
As far as -1 is concerned, that ending of -1, I was thinking about making a video of this myself because I saw on Twitter that I think that people are kind of misinterpreting or not really getting the ending of -1, or at least not the way how I'm getting it. I feel like the ending of that, the universe is kind of giving our main character a break at the end. It's kind of like a gift from the universe. Like, hey, you've been through enough, pal. This is kind of like your gift from it. Like, hey, you did good. Okay, you finally got over your hump, and you're good. But also, it's also a curse as well, because she's also, let's just say she's infected with Godzilla. People are saying that she's impregnated by Godzilla. Let's just say she's infected by Godzilla. And let's say that she's going to become something different in the next film, or they might not actually go that way in the future. It might be something completely different. Godzilla might actually take a long time to actually regenerate and become something different. Because yes, in the film Godzilla -1, he did regenerate really quickly and become better after the explosion in his face. Yes, but that was a small explosion. He got reduced to just his heart, like in GMK. It might take him a long time to actually regrow into another Godzilla, so he might not actually be back until after our main characters from Godzilla -1 are elderly and gone. So we're actually waiting to see what they do with the next film. So it might be actually the future when we see the next -1. So please go ahead.
No, I came up with an idea because I read in an interview with the director, and the director actually said that there's no saving Hiroko. She's gonna die because she's got radiating poison in her body, as well as Godzilla DNA. So Anubis mentioned bringing in Biollante, which I think is feasible because if Hiroko cannot be saved and say she doesn't pass away in the the -1 sequel, and they bring say Hedora in or something like that, they could always bring in Biollante by if Hiroko passes and they say the barrier, her body, her DNA mixed in with the Godzilla DNA suddenly forms and grows and evolves into this plant-like entity that eventually forms Biollante.
Mm-hmm.
That is
like
a way forward with bringing in Biollante which would bring an emotional element to the story, knowing that Hiroko has passed, and it's because of her death and events that transpired leading up to her death that formed this new creature.
I like that.
Mm.
Toho, give me a call.
So I want to piggyback off of something Matt was saying earlier. He mentioned, like, for example, who knows how long it'll take for Godzilla to regenerate and grow back into Godzilla once again. There was something that was mentioned in King of the Monsters when Dr. Stanton went, you know what? Let's just let him take a power nap and he'll be good to go. And the woman that was pretty much described as one of the Mothra twins said no, because this process can take years. By that time, Ghidorah would have already destroyed the entire Earth. And so they had to proceed as planned by setting off the thermo nuke, because if they just let him sleep, with the amount of radiation already in there, it would have taken Godzilla years to recover.
Yes. So, obviously, I think I had done Anubis, I had done Big Power. I don't think I got to Sci-Fi because Matt joined at the time. So Sci-Fi, where do you think the future holds for -1 then the Monsterverse?
Well, you know what? So far, all four of you guys have come up with, pretty much great ideas, like what I would want to see. Biollante makes the most sense. Hedorah, as much as I don't like Hedorah, I'm not a big fan of Hedorah. As much as I'm not a big fan of Hedorah, it makes more sense logically to add him in, as far as being like, the fact that he's made up from pollution and stuff like that. So another Earth attacking creature, aside from Godzilla, Hedorah does make sense. I'd rather go with Biollante. I would rather go with Biollante. But and as the story with Noriko, I kind of, your ideas kind of, they kind of make, to me, they make sense. I just think maybe Noriko, maybe in a way she kind of, let's say they time skip and she lives for just the fact that she's poisoned, or she's, she's mutating or whatever. She outlives, we call it Koichi and Akiko, and then she's still living, and and everybody else is dying around her, and and then she finally, she either finally, an accident happens, or like you said, she finally dies and she gets buried, and then she starts absorbing the earth around her, and then something.
The thing to remember here is that in that particular universe, Godzilla is the villain. So in order to introduce Hedorah, you would have to find a way to make Godzilla now either a hero or anti-hero. Which I don't think they can do within a turn of a movie. So I
think they could both be villains, and then I think they would just pit them against each other.
My analogy I've given before: you have a wildfire raging, and then a massive hurricane comes in. Can the rains from that hurricane put the wildfire out? Yes, but what damage are the winds and rains from the hurricane going to do?
Fun fact: fires can develop their own weather system.
Well, yeah. That's what I'm saying. You guys have good points. That's why I'm confident that the director and the producer, I forgot what was his name,
Takashi Yamazaki.
Yeah, Yamazaki. So I'm confident, bro. Whatever he does, I think it'll be good. Like Anubis said, I'm confident. I think it's in good hands. So I really don't have any other ideas. I would just go with it. Just like we all went in so blind with -1. So I'm just confident in what he would do.
I'm confident in the director.
I think when the trailer comes out, I'll watch the teaser, but after that, I'm going to try to avoid all trailers, even the official ones.
Nah,
Because
I'll be doing a trailer reaction.
Yeah, but as far as Legendary, I liked the Apple TV one, man, but the Legacy of Monsters. But man, I'm tired of those chicks, bro. I'm so tired of those women, dude. Like just show me more fights, man. Like a good story, I like a good story, but those two girls, man, oh my god, just what could they have killed them off or something? But
the woman from Prey is going to be a character in this next one. And my joke I made was to make fun of the plot in Prey. And I said, I swear, if she starts hunting Kong because no one thinks she can, I'm done.
No. She's. I mean, I would understand that she might be an Iwi. You know, I think they might make her an Iwi or something like that. But Amber Mid Thunder, yeah, I think is that her name? Amber
That's her
Mid-Thunder?
name, Amber Mid-Thunder.
Yeah.
That's her name.
I mean, I didn't like Prey. I was like you guys. I didn't really think she should have. You know, she didn't. You know, it was kind of woke for Prey. But I mean,
I love that movie.
I don't know why. I mean, at least she was assisted by the dog. I mean, I don't mind that. I don't mind that she was assisted by the dog, but it was well, I mean, it's not that. It wasn't that like woke, but I think she did a good job as an actor. She's good. She's a good actress.
Yes.
But I think that she's a great actress. I'm not gonna say she's a great actress. I mean, Prey wasn't my favorite, but it's still a decent movie. But I would say if they make her an Iwi and they connect her to the Iwi tribe, then yeah, I would think that would be better for her. But I
Who's
mean,
to say she's not see Jaya's older sister who dies, and then they find Jaya.
yeah, that's another thing. Like I said, I'm not too worried about that. Just get those other two chicks, man. Get that black ebony chick and that other freaking Japanese chick, man.
That black chick was pretty much useless.
Just get them both out of there, man.
I think there's going to be a love triangle.
I mean, well,
the brother and sister and me, and I forgot the other girl.
But I don't. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think there'll be a love triangle between them. I think it'll show you Monarch how they get the outpost on Skull Island, since it's under Apex control. But if you remember in 2019 in King of the Monsters, Godzilla vs. Kong, it was a Monarch outpost. So
let's see. I'll just say this. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Kevin. I think they're saying now that the novels, the graphic novels that came out between Godzilla X Kong and Kong Skull Island, I think they're non-canon now.
They're non-canon now, no.
Yeah, they're not.
Like they retcon Godzilla Aftershock, Godzilla Awakening, and I think the Skull Island series, not the Kingdom Kong and the Godzilla Dominion, but like there was that series to where part of that series of that Kong Skull Island one takes place after the events of Skull Island. And I think they retcon all of that. But I think Kingdom Kong and Godzilla Dominion are still a part of it, I think. Maybe. I know the other ones they retconned.
If they can show how Skull Island became uninhabitable, which was the battle between Kong and Kamazots, then I'll definitely watch it. If they can bring Kamazots into this and show how Kong defeated Kamazots, then I'll be all for it, dude. I'll be all for it.
No.
But that's pretty much it.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Danny.
No, that's pretty much it. That's my take on it. I mean, it's in good hands in my. As far as Legendary, I don't mind Godzilla. Whatever they do with this new director, I mean, I'm with it, man. I mean, as long as it's not gonna be, if it's a new director, new ideas, and we'll have to see. But as far as that's my take on it.
Cheer call.
I want to see a young Charles Dance in the next series, in next season. I want to see him start to come up.
For -1, I mean they're all good lineups, but I would like to see maybe Veron make a return. Like
Yes.
I'll almost do like a raids again, but instead of bringing back Angerus, which we've seen him multiple times, like bring back him for like a substitution probably. And for the MonsterVerse, I'm just kind of a wait and see kind of guy. I mean, we're in good hands, or at least we think we are. But depending on
Okay.
Mhm.
Wow.
Give it time, you never know.
yeah, that is true. There's been so many ideas for the final MonsterVerse movies that at this point, whatever they go with, I'll be happy with it.
Hmm.
It ain't gonna hurt me one bit.
Hmm.
And for the TV show, it'll be interesting to see how they go with it. I do think it'll be Kong heavy, and
Yes, I do. I think they'll make it Kong heavy because if the focus is going to be on Godzilla more in the film, then they'll need to focus more on Kong in the series because, like you said, Kong's story's kind of completed for now.
yeah,
And I mean,
Godzilla's really is
first
kind of only
season.
beginning.
And at the end of the first season, they kind of meet Kong at the very end of that episode.
yeah. And I'm like sci-fi. I would like them to bring in Camazotz into the TV series so we can actually see what he's truly made of instead of just looking in the comic.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Right, Mr. Jedi Granville.
Well, pretty much everyone's been touching on it. With -1 specifically, I, I don't know. I mean, because like I say, I've heard many iterations of what the direct was going to go. Some fan wise have said Violante, which would make sense, But I've heard specifically him say Fedora being something of a new take on what he wants to do, and how that would be played out, I don't know because it's very weird because even sci-fi mentioned, it's like they would have to be both villains, Godzilla and Fedora. So I don't know how that's going to work out. But and here's an interesting thought: who's to say they couldn't have, two of them? What if they had Violante and Fedora in a Godzilla film? If he was to do something like that, have that. But would that be too much? I don't know. I mean, it's possible. Who knows? I mean, the guy is pretty much on cloud nine right now because he's won an Oscar. He's done a good story line with what he's made. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But whatever he does, I hope he sticks to, as New was saying, to his writing. Because he does. He's a hell of a good writer, and I hope that the next one he does has the same amount of emotion as the last one because I want to see that. Godzilla is not necessarily known for emotions, although 54 was definitely emotional. The last his Heisei film, Destroyer, definitely emotional. So -1 will definitely have to have. I mean, had that fake stuff. So whatever he does with this
Well,
one,
he's got a lot of pressure on him because let's
yeah,
face it, you've got Gladiator and now you've got Gladiator 2, and Gladiator 2 apparently is getting a lot of praise. Seeing
I've
it's
heard that.
Oscar, but then I don't want -1, the sequel, to turn into Joker.
No,
Folly
and
the
that's the
two.
thing. Yeah.
No.
Like -1 is our Joker, and now we don't want a Folly to do.
That would be messed up. If that would happen. Because I'm like, man, come on. I mean, I'm thinking it's going to be really up there, but all of a sudden it's just falling below the line.
I don't.
And as
Guys,
far
what
as
about what happens to Joker in that movie? I'm like, what the flying hell?
Yes, well, we don't
but
want that,
but
and I don't think it will. I think we're in safe hands.
yeah, but to finish it off with the MonsterVerse, I do know that they're going to focus more heavily on Godzilla's story because we've seen Kong pretty much in the past 2 films, and I think his whole arc is pretty much done. But if I want to be, just throw it out there, whatever they do, if somebody mentioned in the comments, I wouldn't mind if they brought some of these creatures back. But the one I would like to say is, if they could put a spin of like Pacific Rim into the mix of this, that would kind of be a foreshadowing that maybe Jet Jaguar could appear in the MonsterVerse. But I'm not saying that's going to happen because we don't know where it's going to go with. I mean, they got so many kind of ideas they can spin Doctor into it, and whatever
I
they
think
come up
before
with.
we get to Jaguar, I think Mogira would be more likely.
Right? Yes.
Well, Mogira will kind of help fit the bill with what's going on with the MonsterVerse now.
Yeah,
especially
in the
with
Hollow Earth.
because he could be like a sentinel that's kind of built by Mara to kind of help Kong make sure no monsters try to get near the surface.
So whatever they come up with, I'm kind of like with Jake. It's like whatever they do, I'm just gonna enjoy it and take it in, pretty much.
Daniel Miller.
Right. On the Toho side of things, as you have said, we are in safe hands. The director of -1, he's made some interesting ideas that are going around. With regards to what everyone has said, whether it's Hedora or Biollante or both, I'm open to having one or two, or if they either go with one after the other or they introduce both of them at the same time. It would be a challenge, but it would be an interesting challenge. It would be good to see how it pays off in the end. Should that be the way it's being taken? The MonsterVerse. Now the MonsterVerse. The MonsterVerse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that they're expanding on the backstory with Monarch, and they've also taken some liberties with retconning some of the prequel novels for better or for worse. We'll have to wait and see what comes out of those. On the movie front, of course, it would be more Godzilla centric, which
and I hope it's more serious toned. I want a more 2014 feel with the next one.
Absolutely.
I think that was also Wingard's plan for the next one. Was he was going to bring back the grounded, dark, serious feel that 2014 had.
Yeah, and I also want to go a little bit into new territory because I think that there is a lot more potential that's been unearthed and it's untapped. Like, for instance, -1 is more like a period piece kaiju film, and then before that you had the experimental animes like Singular Point and the Earth trilogy. And I'm wondering, well, there is a lot more potential because, say, for instance, you have a kaiju movie that begins in similar to the docudrama Threads. Have you seen that one, Kevin?
No.
All right. Well, for context, Threads, it's mid-80s docudrama by the BBC about what would happen if the bombs fell and the aftermath of that. Yeah. So I'm thinking, what if that happens? Not so much in the Cold War, but it could be present day or could be in a not too distant future where World War III has happened, the bombs have fallen, and as humanity is trying to struggle through this nuclear winter, this aftermath of war, that's when the kaiju start rising up from the ashes. And then gradually there's this split narrative of new life taking up the chain of power of life on Earth. Then you have humanity that's slowly being downgraded and pushed down as this wasted, mutated excuse that's fallen from grace through war, and because the war is now opened up the kaijus taking over the planet, that sort of thing.
Reclaiming it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Another thing that I've sort of been toying with, and this one because I was reminded of Shin Godzilla recently, is what if they did a follow up to that, but had a survival horror spin? Like, for instance, it's a character driven piece where they're in the aftermath of Godzilla when he's been frozen by the blood coagulating agent, and it's been the yeah I'm
You could
open to that
see
idea.
them in there.
That's a good idea. But yeah, the blood coagulant has expired, and the humanoids have actually started to slither out of Godzilla's body, and then you'd have this again akin to Alien Isolation, but you're hiding from but the characters are hiding from these Godzilla humanoids. And all the while, the flesh that's fallen off the old Godzilla, it's evolving a new one. So there's going to be this Godzilla apocalypse situation going on, whereas one Godzilla in Shin Godzilla, then it's 2 times 4 times 8, and it's exponentially growing, and there's like this hive mind between the first Godzilla and all these humanoids that are going around. Then you see, taking a page from John Carpenter's The Thing and Lovecraftian and body horror genres, these mess of human and kaiju monsters just strewn around the place, and you see that humanity is slowly being eaten away or stripped away, and what you have is this otherworldly life force that's going to replace mankind as the dominant race.
Wow.
That's
You really thought about that one, didn't you?
Yeah,
That's the professor for you.
That was-
We expect nothing less from the professor.
I mean, look. Just to add on to what the professor said, with that kind of tone and kind of thought process, I'm just wondering if, and I said this before, I've said this to you guys, what if they did do something where it would borderline towards kind of an R rating, feel of that, if they went that route, but I know they won't, but who's to say they couldn't, because you can't
Well,
tell
anything's
that kind of
possible.
story without going that dark. You can't go that far without doing that.
Mhm. Anthony Jordan.
Okay, for the monster verse, like you said, I would like it to do with something with Kong finding a baby Godzilla and keep him as a secondary character, but him bringing this to Godzilla. And you can do some fun stuff with Suko and interacting with the baby Godzilla, maybe him aggravating it and Kong just grabbing him and flinging him away like, no, we're not going through this again.
Kong's like getting PTSD from his fight with Godzilla.
Or
Yeah.
baby Godzilla blasts an atomic breath at him and he learns not to mess with it. But I would also introduce Destroya, and before I would focus on show how lonely Godzilla's existence really is.
They need to give him more personality.
Yeah, I would bring in Destroya, and I have a scene in mind to introduce him, and I can see it clear as day in my head how it would play out. It would be at the same city where Rodan emerged, only this would be Destroya emerging from the ocean from where the oxygen destroyer was launched, and he just lands at the city, and you just get a shot with all the people, and he shoots the oxygen destroyer beam, and you see it go through the city. It doesn't destroy buildings, doesn't destroy cars, but plant life, trees, whatnot, shrivel up and die. The people die instantly, and all are left are skeletons, and then he just flies off, and why this is going on, and you have this creature that can literally just take oxygen out of everything with its breath. You have Kong as a background character bringing the little Godzilla to the surface, and when he reunites him with the baby, that's when they would be confronted with Destroya, and they would have it really would be an opponent that would challenge both of them because he could literally take their ability to breathe away from them.
Mm-hmm.
That reminds me of
Absolutely.
something Rob Basato did like a video on his stream one day on what he would do for the next Monsters movie, and he mentioned on with Destroyer could be like he literally feeds on oxygen, which in turns is killing all the oxygen cells within an area. Then Godzilla first meets Destroyer when he goes to try to use his atomic breath. Godzilla is kind of like coughing and gasping for air. Because like you hear like, but right before he could do anything, he's like gasping for air because all the oxygen's just out of the air, so he can't literally do anything. Which allows Destroyer to literally win the first encounter because he badly wounds Godzilla by goring him with his horn.
Yes.
As for the monster verse, I mean this one, the -1, this one will take I want to end with the quote, but before that, this one would be, I would set it in the next decade, the 50s, and I would open up with kind of what happened the past decade. We would see that there had been plants and stuff mutated from the Godzilla cells, and that there's an infection in the people, and that they're going to die. It could take a decade. It could take more, but they build this facility, and everything that they just like a nuclear waste storage facility, but it's for the stuff exposed to the Godzilla cells, even tragically the civilians that are going to die. So again, you can have the emotional aspect and the family having to deal with the fact that Haruko's not going to have a proper funeral. She's going to be unceremoniously, her body's going to be unceremoniously just dumped in this facility, and how hard that is with her, but how they're just trying.
You could take elements like from the pandemic,
Yeah,
where people who had COVID were trapped behind doors, but they couldn't see relatives, or when they knew a relative was dying, they weren't allowed to go and visit because how bad COVID was. They could play on that, the heartbreak of not being able to see a relative before they're about to pass.
And like I would get her big thing is she has this, it's going to come into play for the ending, but she has this rose garden she's really proud of. And I would also give some of the history. Japan's more of a industrialized nation now, and although the Cold War is still going on, I would explain there's like a tentative thing that if a creature like Godzilla comes back again, that both the NATO nations and the USSR have an agreement that, all right, our differences get put to the side to deal with this threat. And Hedorah would be, because they were just storing all that material exposed to the Godzilla cells, Hedorah would be what would break out of that. So it wouldn't be so much a monster of just sludge, but it would be a creature of just rotting and decomposed biomass brought to life from the radiation of the Godzilla cells.
It kind of reminds me of Val Hazak from Monster Hunter World. You probably remember him, Sci-Fi, if you played the game all the way through. So Val Hazak is pretty much a monster he's like a decaying dragon that when the first cutscene when you meet Val Hazak is you see these Gyroses, these little Komodo dragon-looking monsters that are like affected by the effluvium. And the first appearance is it literally sticks out his claw, and it's just like draining like all the effluvium off of the monster, also killing the monster. And Falazar comes up, and it looks like this decaying dragon because like it's like rotting flesh. It looks like a zombified dragon.
Oh God!
Anyway, we have like Destroyer emerged and Godzilla come back, and you could deal with the geopolitical aspects that now both NATO and the USSR and Japan are all working together to stop it. But what I would do for the finale is Haruko would die sometime during the battle, and they would decide, okay, we're going to make sure she gets the funeral, so they take her off to the mountains or something to bury her in secret. But before they leave, he cuts one of the roses from her garden and I'm sure y'all get where I'm going, what I'm setting up with this.
Mhm.
And they would dig a hole, bury her in the mountains or something, and before covering the dirt, they would place the rose on her body.
Here's an idea. She could be buried in the mountains near Akio aka Suicide Forest.
I wouldn't touch that.
But you see what's going on. See, this is the thing about us. Why is it that we can't be hired to write some of these scripts? I'm hearing these ideas, and it's like they're more fluid, more generated well than some of this crap that we see out right now. You know, I mean, it's like it flows the way y'all saying it, and I'm just like, I'm thinking like, why can't these people, these artists, or if you want to say money hungry bitches, make these things sound or make it seem like this is how it would work? It would work well like this, you know. I mean, the
Well,
professor.
see, I was thinking Akio because of how the plant life and vegetation life looks.
I get that, but just because of that forest's reputation, out of just taste, I wouldn't do that. But my last shot would be, like I said, this would be in a decade later. So I would just put 10 years later, and you would see one last shot of her grave in this bizarre rose growing out of the ground. But
Rosebud.
I said I had a quote, and this was from Ishiro Honda in 1992. Godzilla was a product of the times. There previously had been no monster like him, so people were frightened and shocked by him. Now when Godzilla appears in the city, most of the buildings are even taller than he is. The image of what a monster is shouldn't stay the same. It should be different so that people will be shocked and surprised, just as they were by Gojira 1954. Something new and strange must be created.
Well, that's an amazing idea. This has been nothing but an amazing event, celebrating all things Godzilla, talking about Godzilla who we love. It's his 70th anniversary. Nothing really much we can talk. We've talked about how we feel about him turning 70. We've talked about how he's inspired pop culture. We've talked about his foes, his allies, and now we've talked about our hopes for his future. So all I can say is happy birthday, happy anniversary to the King of the Monsters. And I can't wait to see what's around the corner for the King. So I'm going to quickly ask Mr. DJ Anubis, is there anything coming to the Metal Tavern Radio?
What do I got? Put me on the spot. Well, I mean, like everyone else, I've been kind of slowing down because October was so busy. And then with everything that's going on with the move, you know. But yeah, so next week, next Wednesday, Mr. Lambert and I, we were doing his retro show, which we'll be doing a review of Jean-Claude Van Damme's Cyborg. So we got that coming, and then the Ghouls of Midnight with Tony. We're reviewing a movie that I can't remember at the moment. Oh, Pinocchio's Revenge. That's what we're doing. And then from there, it's kind of like hit or miss. I know later on in the month, I'll be connecting with Kevin some more with his Into the Darkness franchise, Candyman, the Cinematic Synergy, and I think he's going to be reviewing Tarantula towards the end of the month. So most of the stuff that I'll be doing with Kevin and some of the other panel guests for his shows.
Mm-hmm. Big Bad Wolf, for you got out planned for your channel?
So for my channel, I haven't started editing this next video. It'll either be one we did like this Gauntlet and Outlast trials, which is kind of like the developers are doing. It was their attempt to do their own roadblock for Outlast trials, or I may do one of the Lethal Company videos I did a while back. But speaking of that, I did release my newest video this Tuesday. Check it out if you guys like to. It's called It's called Iowa's Milk: The Outlast Trials with Redbeard the Great.
Sci-Fi Sentry, I know you're slowing down because you want to focus on your health, but do you have anything coming up, or are you just going to chill out till the Tarantula review on November the 30th?
I can catch Tarantula on that. I can catch Tarantula if you want me to jump on it. I can do that one, but yeah, I'm just gonna focus on getting better. I'm gonna get some nerve blockers injected in the back of my head, and I'm gonna just enjoy the holidays, take my time and enjoy my spending time with a lovely lady, and that's it, man. Just and then I don't know what I'll have planned for 2025. I mean, I'm definitely gonna we're still definitely gonna do Event Horizon and Conan the Barbarian. That's already a given. I've already put all the work in for both of them. I just want to take the break and spend time with family and stuff like that, and heal up, get better. But so that's far, man. I mean, if you guys have any other stuff that's coming up, and like Anubis and Kevin, just let me know and I'll jump on that. What do you call it? But yeah, so far that's pretty much it, man. I'm just gonna enjoy the holidays and till 2025.
Do you call? I know you don't necessarily have a YouTube channel, but do you have anything coming your way in terms of collectibles?
Well, I have added to my collectibles. Actually, I've been working on a drawing right now. I'll show it off real quick. Hopefully, you can see it.
Oh,
Oh
okay.
yeah.
Braun.
My boy.
All right, Daniel Miller. Now let's see you draw for
I might have to get up with you about something if you can draw.
Oh wow, that's
So, but other than that, I just recently got off vacation, so today was my first day back at work, and it was hell. But oh no, I'm glad I survived and just trying to make it through the holidays. Other than that, mostly relaxing and catching up on some either anime or whatnot. So
Very good. Jedi Granville.
Well, since we've discussed the Big G's 70th anniversary, I got something coming up tomorrow with my own personal take. I already filmed it and everything. I just got to upload it tomorrow, and it'll be shown pretty soon. But also, I heard about the short film that's supposed to be the sequel to Godzilla versus Jaguar. I'm going to do a reaction video on that. So when that comes out, that'll be coming out pretty much either tomorrow or the next day. But that'll be coming very soon. But the retro video of the 70th of Godzilla will be up tomorrow.
I love Jet Jaguar, brother, but I love Jet Jaguar, but Jet Jaguar is gonna get wrecked, bro.
Well, hey, I mean, at least he's still there. That's the thing about it.
It'll have,
Daniel Miller.
I'm not going to say it.
Just remember,
There you go.
are we referring to Rodan, or are we calling Anthony a chicken for not saying what he was trying to say?
Nobody asked you for your opinion, John. Nobody asked you for your opinion, man. So, yeah.
Well, you responded, so you must want it.
I mean, he's got a point. Right. Yeah, my channel. There was something originally planned for this Halloween, but unfortunately, things don't always go to plan, so that's another one for the back burner. However, that doesn't mean that new stuff is on the way. What exactly it is at the moment, I don't know, but when I have a plan, it will be stuck to, and there will be more content coming to me soon, and it might just involve one of these guys.
Nice.
Sending it to Anubis.
We're also involved in these guys.
Yep. And also, I'll just
Hey, remember, John.
just a
Hey,
Y'all are
John.
pushing
Hey,
Anubis
John.
too much, man.
John, remember for Christmas to take a picture of yourself with your Rhedosaurus and then send it to Anubis gift wrapped.
He doesn't
Yeah, I
have to-
will.
No. He doesn't
No,
have to
what
put
it's
himself
gonna
in the
be?
picture.
It's gonna be a picture.
Just
like
take a picture of
this.
the Rhedosaurus. I don't need your ugly ass in the photo.
But Anubis needs that Rhedosaurus so he can get a Goliath bird eater and make it the centerpiece of the enclosure.
Yeah. Damn
No,
right.
here's what it's gonna be. It's gonna be in the Rhedosaurus box, but it's gonna be a picture of my middle finger.
Well, if it's just
Oh,
a box,
no.
then I'll have the Rhedosaurus already. I don't have to open the damn box, do I?
Yep.
But ain't gonna be
Right,
no Rhedosaurus
children.
now, is it?
Right,
Oh,
children, do I
picture.
have to put you in a timeout?
You probably have to, you have to
It's
put
like,
the first doing the
that.
topper on a timeout.
No, we
Kevin.
just need to put DJ Anubis in a timeout.
We were doing fine.
Mhm. Right, Anthony Jordan, what's coming up on your channel?
Well, I starting back up my Return of Godzilla-thon, which I, between getting burned and gearing up for Montober, I put to the side. So the next one's going to be Son of Godzilla. I'm also going back to writing my Wendigo story I had hoped to publish this year, but again, the burn kind of put that to the side. But I had toyed with something, and I think I'm going to do it for next Montober as well. I'm going to make a documentary, 100 Years of Horror, covering the horror through every decade from the 1920s on to this current decade.
Wow, that'll
I have
be a
an,
big,
I have
big
an idea,
project.
Anthony.
Yeah.
So I heard. So you said you're writing your Wendigo story. You could try to do a video, kind of like Mungo, and do a mockumentary kind of story with the Wendigo.
The way this story's written, that would take too much money. We'd need a cabin in Colorado.
Ah, well, that was just an idea, and not all ideas are winners.
But like the documentary, that I'm going to have to at least start in February if I want to have it finished in time for October.
Yeah. Godzilla, are you still with us?
Yep, I'm still here.
Is there anything coming to your channel?
Well, I think you can agree on this, or you've got this coming as well. I've got a Spiral Studios figure coming soon. I have an X Plus figure that's paid for that I'm still waiting to come. That figure I am going to do a review style that I'm known for. That one I'm definitely going to do a review style for. As far as other things, there aren't any games out that I really want to play or really do anything with, like a live stream or anything. There's something like planned for that. They're releasing a lot of figures that are very enticing that I want to get. There's this new King Caesar figure that I really want to get. There's this new Godzilla 74 figure I want to get as well, but money's kind of tight right now. Trying to get some things going in my life that's really getting all my attention financially. And I don't want to bother you. I don't want to bore you guys with that, but let's just say financially I'm a little tight right now. But,
Yeah. Well, I hope you're all the best with sorting that out and just keep the kaiju love alive. That's all I can say about that. But this has been an amazing night. The fact that I can work and be up at 5 a.m. in the morning, do a 13.5-hour shift and still be awake at 1:17 a.m. shows
That's a feat in itself.
it shows I'm either a dumb son of a bitch or I just love Godzilla.
Well, you're a
and I have
monster,
to
brother,
keep
and you got the
that
heart of a
kaiju
monster.
love alive. So once again, congratulations to 70 years of the King of the Monsters. His reign hopefully is going to continue for a very long time.
Oh, it's
Long
gonna.
past we are dust. But either way, this has been an amazing experience. Love Godzilla. Keep on representing him. Keep on enjoying all that he offers. And
Long live the king.
long
Yeah.
live the king.
Long
No
Catch
matter
us
what-
all.
No matter what
Yes.
happens, Godzilla will always live.
Mhm.
Omedeto, Gojira-sama, omedeto gozaimasu.
Mhm.
Okay. I don't know
Show
what
off.
you said.
And we'll catch us all at the next one. And we'll catch you in 2025 when Monarch Season 2 makes its debut. We'll probably catch it in 2026 when I believe that'll be the release of the next Godzilla Toho film, and 2027 will return to the Monsterverse. So until then, from me, from him, from everybody around, take care. And as Walter Ross always says, don't just keep the kaiju love alive, keep the Gojira love alive now and forever.